Good evening. I am your host, Victor Venzion, and I am joined by the other artist, Antoine Christopher.
Hey,
know,
that's pretty good. I
you like
know.
that? You see that? I know you always appreciate.
That's funny.
Yeah,
Damn.
I was working hard to try to get that, to come through.
That's
So
good. That's good.
I'm gonna give ourselves.
So where are we broadcasting from right now?
So you, you and I have been in conversation about getting back on camera about something that we could discuss and move a conversation forward about. And I was
Right.
trying to figure out what's the best way to package everything that we have been discussing. Um, and one of the things that I came up with was discussing the culture in general. And the culture conversation is something that's always evolving. It's part of the reason why it's so much discontent and from dating to like some men and women are complaining about dating options, right? The the family structure conversation is never ending. I talk about ending the gender war, and that's part of the reason to ending the gender war. One of the byproducts that's going to come from it is fixing relationships. You can't end it without fixing the relationships, and you can't fix relationships without ending the gender war. It go hand in hand with one another, right?
Why do you
And
want to fix people's relationships?
well, you can't fix. Well, when I say fix people's relationships, not even that. It's more about people are complaining about dating options, right?
Because they
That's
don't. Because men or women?
in general. Just
Okay.
it's just a conversation. We're just talking about the topic across the board, right? All of these topics that populate social media, uh, they really rest on social media. The people that can get what they want, they're living their lives. They're not really paying attention to what's going on social media, dealing with the reality that's in front of them. They're getting what they can get, and they're you know living their lives. So for the most part, I want to say that the gender war conversation is definitely relegated to social media for the main part. Every now and then, though, you get some indications that it's a bigger deal. Because once you start seeing stuff in your algorithm on a regular basis, it's depicting what's going on outside, but maybe in acute moments, and those things are kind of isolated. You know what I'm saying, to what those people experience. Now, um, when we start talking about how men and women respect one another, how men respect each other, then that's when the conversation kind of splinters off into the finger pointing. He's doing this, where men are doing this, where women are doing that. And I just see it as a big playground with a bunch of immature kids that don't know how to share, you know, ultimately, because they're arguing over an activity, they're arguing over access to something. It's not their turn. I so and so did it this way the last time. How come I can't do it if they can do it? It's real immature when you really look at the nuts and bolts of it, right? So when we were discussing about what accountable masculinity aims to do, I wanted to be able to capture that conversation on camera, and give you a chance to engage with the audience. you know Bring all of these conversations to light, because one of the main things I believe that the issue is that there is an overarching lack of culture and accountability. Well, there's no accountability if you don't have no culture, in my opinion. You don't have any discipline, you don't have any accountability. You don't until people start taking ownership of what their equity is in every single problem. You can't move the conversation forward. You can't move the conversation forward if the majority of your interactions with people are conflicts, where there's no solution in the conversation, right? It's only finger pointing. Men cannot lead if they are blaming, in my opinion. If you're blaming, you're not solving a problem.
But we
I
agree
think,
you can't lead what doesn't want to be followed, right?
well, and that's the point. If they don't want to be followed, if
Then
they
you
don't
shouldn't
want
be. Then you shouldn't be pursuing
to,
that to lead it,
then
right?
you shouldn't pay any attention to anybody that doesn't agree with you.
Right. So why
That
would you? Why would there be a discord in that?
Well, the discord is that there's always going to be people that are not qualified that lead with complaints. People complain when they don't qualify for something. People complain when they don't have what it takes to meet the qualification to get what they want.
Then we would agree. Then we would agree that men need to up their financial gain, build, become within their financial means. All right, become the better version of themselves, as they say. And the pool of women is better, hotter, and fresher. Women need to realize they need to up their game and realize what they can attract and what they can't attract, and what they qualify for and what they definitely don't qualify for.
Well, that's
you can say whatever you want and want whatever you want, but life will show you otherwise. And you can scream and shout over here, but the men that have their game together really don't care what you don't qualify for.
Yeah,
you don't qualify for it,
and
so
that's
why should there be.
And so, like, I'm in complete agreement with that. I also want to add to that by saying men got to have these conversations without talking about women at all.
But the men that have their stuff together do.
Right, but I'm talking about for the sake of what social media cares about, right? The masses.
What financial bracket are we talking about?
I'm not talking about finances at all right now. I'm like, tell Tarzan to chill out, man.
You heard that?
Yeah.
I just got that ring. I just love that ring. I'm sorry.
Bro, real men, in my opinion. Hold up, you.
I just love that ring, dude. That's the manly man. I'm sorry. See, Tarzan till the end, buddy.
Yeah. So what I want to have is a mature conversation, right? Where men can have a discussion about what needs to be done to be better at leading or even having a conversation, right? Not get hung up on words. We got to stop talking about what men need to do while involving women, because women are having conversations.
But then what are they leading? I'm just curious.
Let me finish.
Okay.
If they're not in a relationship, if a man ain't in a relationship, he ain't leading nothing.
So then why are we talking about leading it?
Let me finish.
Okay.
This is all part of it.
All right.
We got to take that part out. The men that are already leading ain't complaining. They taking care of business.
Check.
Huh?
Because their women are in check.
Right. Well, they got
okay. As long as they're not paid. Okay.
Yeah. They got other priorities. We're not single men ain't leading nothing. Okay.
But they don't need to. They need to lead their own financial gain.
Hear me out, Antoine.
Okay.
I'm trying to level set the conversation.
Okay.
Because we got to talk about this. If we're going to have a good conversation today, we need to have a conversation that don't involve women.
Then we can't talk about leading.
Let me finish.
Right?
I'm just going to mute you.
Okay.
Matter of fact, let me just go ahead and get up here. Let me go ahead and mute it. Antoine don't want to be quiet right now. let me get you up out of here, bro.
I just asking.
Yeah, I know. You won't let me finish, so you ain't got to ask. Let me go ahead and just mute you up real quick. You know what I'm saying? So we got to have a conversation about men being better men without talking about women, without talking about superficial topics that derail the conversation, as you just saw, and what the main point of what we're talking about is, if we want things to improve, it's not going to improve if men don't make better boundaries. Men have to exclude themselves from being in argumentative back and forths with each other. The behavior has to end. I've seen plenty of conversations where women are talking about decentering men. And at the same time, they're talking about men, so they're technically not decentering men. So if men are going to talk about being better, then they need to learn how to have conversations without talking about women at all, because otherwise you're still making women-centric discussion. That's the point. We know that money is required for men to function and be functional in society. We know men have better options when they have better resources. We know that men need each other for good counsel, for good, like just all across the world, brotherhood runs the world, not sisterhood and nothing else. Communities, families, and all relationships under the sun, whether it be business, friendship, or platonic, it all stems from men being accountable within the relationship, no matter what it is. There's all of these gender conflicts. I'm the only one on social media talking about ending the gender war. That's all that I care about. So before you engage anyone that's in the comments or whatever else, we got to talk about what culture means. Culture sets the foundations about what we're going to do with each other, how we're going to respect each other. There's a lot of degenerate culture that's being discussed and exposed on a regular basis. There's a lot of negative culture that's being adopted as culture, and it's really just negative influence. Culture is what you live by and how you treat each other. Influence is how others mimic your behavior. We have to be able to speak uninterrupted, and it has to be solutions based if you're going to be a man, in my opinion. You cannot lead and blame at the same time. We cannot be focused on people that do not respect us. Comes a time where you don't have to talk to people that don't agree with you. I only want to talk to people that are looking to sync up with the same line of thought. That's what being like-minded is about. What's the point of social media and using it to connect with other people just so you can disagree with people that you don't know? At some point, we have to start looking at this as a culture of mental illness at some point. Because if you only get online just to be disagreeable, argumentative, and hard to talk to, at some point, when you're not getting the outcomes that you want and it's always somebody else's fault, when is it your fault? When is it your fault that you are participating in the negative aspect of this thing that we call culture? When is it your fault that you don't want to take ownership of the equity that you got in the situation? When is it your fault that you give too much attention to problems that you're not even attracted to? So if we could take all those things that we do not care about or claim to not care about and wipe them off the board and relegate those people that fit that behavior to their own corner, put them in the corner. Let's not talk about the people that do not reflect what we want. We do not need to talk to people that do not practice what they preach. We do not need to talk to people that do not make us feel comfortable with reality. You know, it's everybody's had time to find their own tribe or create their own tribe. I've created mine. I don't need anyone at this point in my life to come over here and tell me what I'm not doing right, what I'm not paying attention to, when they haven't had my experiences and they don't have a solution. They only have an opinion. I'm standing on business about my shit. And it's time that you do the same about yours. Because if you don't like what I say, you can always delete it. You can always go where you accept it. If you get better solutions and results without me being in your conversation, then that's where you need to be. Because this channel ain't about how you feel. This is about the facts. And the facts are rooted in data, statistics, and outcomes. And the things that we don't have a definition for, they can come out in dialogue if you're just honest with it. If you could put your personal opinions to the side, it's okay if we don't agree on every single thing. I promise you it is. But don't say nothing in the comments that you're not willing to come on camera about. Because this is also the platform where you can get the smoke too. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to have a segment on this where you can call in and talk about the topics that we're going to discuss or just air out whatever grievance. Because no matter what the topic, no matter where the topic of this discussion goes, it's all going to capture what we believe culture actually is. Because I've seen too many disagreements where I believe that people are conflating culture with influence. Because if we had culture, there would be consequences for violating it. And right now is no consequence. There's simply no consequence for being a negative contributor as a Black person in America in general. People confuse other folks' opinions with what they feel, but you can't fault people for what they observe. You can't fault people for how they process what they've been shown. That's our responsibility to put out something better than that. So over here on the Solutions Only platform, that's what I'm doing. So when it comes down to all the other nuanced conversations that fall underneath this umbrella, such as dating, respecting one another, this is where I want the conversation to be level set. So I want to listen to Antoine air out his grievances.
I have no grievances. I'm just saying, beating it. You can't say what you're leading if you're not talking about a woman. So I don't want to talk about leading, because if you can't lead your own life, you didn't live it right. Right? You didn't put your ducks in a line. If you want to get your ducks in a line, then you got to focus on yourself. But this whole leading talk, that deals with somebody else. And if they don't want to be led, and you're not capable of letting, you shouldn't even be having that conversation. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I agree.
Men need to understand, I built myself up that she's coming into my life. I'm never going to go into hers. I don't need to. She has her roles, I have mine. She has her purpose, I have mine.
But this is what I'm saying. I don't want to talk about women at all. I don't care.
So then don't mention lead, right?
No.
Okay.
I mean, lead doesn't necessarily, it's not limited to women though.
So what are you leading then? That's what I want to know. Like you said, lead. What are you leading if you're not leading women, or you're not leading someone else?
You're just leading a change in mindset. Somebody has
to what end?
To a more disciplined mindset.
But that's building on yourself, right? That's not leading anything but leading yourself.
No, because the only reason I'm able to say what I'm saying is because I practice what I preach, and I've got myself to the point where I can talk about people having a change in mindset. That's what I'm talking about. All I care about is changing mindset right now. If you can't become a more disciplined person, you ain't leading shit anyway.
But in order to know if you're leading, there has to be some pushback from what you're leading.
Well, I understand that pushback is all.
Okay.
What I'm saying is you have to have enough discipline to not have your mindset changed. Discipline keeps you in line. Once you become, like, for instance, right, you're a painter. You focused on yourself. You got locked in. You was disciplined about your craft. And then now you got to the spot where you could say what you feel about your own individual experiences. I can't tell Antoine what it takes to be a better painter. And if I did, Antoine would correct me, because he got enough discipline in his own talent and what he's done to be able to say, no, Vic, you out of bounds. If I start talking about real estate and you try to correct me on something and you don't have any experience in real estate, and I got the discipline and the experience that goes along with that, we're going to have a different conversation, right?
Right.
A lot of the times people lack so much discipline that they don't understand they're having a conversation they're not qualified to have. And in order for you to recognize, like, when you're out of your lane, you have to recognize that I don't have enough experience, discipline, or skill to be in certain conversations. We wouldn't both be disagreeing with somebody that's a baker. We wouldn't disagree with Gordon Ramsay if he got a TV show talking about it, right? Now we could disagree.
So that would be
talk to people, but that's personal opinion.
But again, that would be one disciplining themselves and not leading with their ego, right? Because in order to listen to somebody, you have to put your ego aside, because you have to admit to yourself you don't know, right?
That's
okay. So that comes with you building yourself and leading yourself. You can have a household of kids, family, and all this sort of stuff without the woman. You should still have a sense of discipline to lead them, right? Because you obviously led somebody in order to have that household filled with who's ever there. I'm just saying, if one has to interact with other men, then he has to interact with other men at his level if he wants to try to give them any guidance. Because even if the men hear you, doesn't mean they're listening to you.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Okay. So you have to be within that realm of men that are capable of taking it as a sponge and going, oh yeah, let me process that, and boom, boom, boom. A, B, and C. Like, if you're in real estate, I have to put my ego aside to listen to what you have to say. Now, can I verify it with other people that have real estate? Yes, that's the discipline on my part to go and do it. But the initial conversation is me staying quiet and going, oh, okay, and asking you the questions I need to ask in order to build my own little real estate property. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Because a lot of men say they want to lead, but they don't even have two pennies to rub together. And when you talk about leading, you have to have some kind of financial status. Even if it's 45, 50,000 and you're making that, you still have to be balanced in your 45, 50,000 without debt.
Yeah.
Because you can have 45, 50,000 and live a good life with no debt. But if you have 45, 50,000 and you're living paycheck to paycheck, you ain't even leading yourself, because you're not leading yourself out of debt, right?
Of course.
Okay. So as long as we're being in that perspective, because I wouldn't waste my time talking to somebody that makes $45,000 paycheck to paycheck and is arguing with me about how to make money. When I'm like, dude,
of course,
what are you arguing with? I wouldn't waste my time with you.
And that's ultimately my point. A lot of people are wasting time arguing with people that they can't learn from and they don't respect anyway. So I understand that there's going to always be some conflict and pushback, but there needs to be a cutoff on certain things so we can get to real problem solving discussions, right?
Right.
So,
but,
but
like that's the disclaimer. That's when the disclaimer comes in, and you say over here, this is what we as men talk about that are doing what we should be doing. We may not be there yet, but we're acquiring what we want to acquire. But if you're coming over to here just to debunk what we're saying based on you having nothing, I can't afford to waste my time talking to you, because I'm not going to lead a horse to water that ain't going to drink.
Of course.
And you are saying nothing to me because you have nothing. So what can you possibly teach me? I think if it was up to me, I think men should associate with men higher than them. They shouldn't even bother with the entertainment men. They should be, if they don't have nothing, they should be acquiring to see what does that guy know. I need to be friends with him for a while. I need to play the game. I need to play politics because I got nothing. I have $45,000 not in debt. I need to talk to somebody that has $45,000 and $50,000 to tell him, how do I get where I am so I can be where you are? That takes you putting your ego aside because you don't know. But most men can't even lead themselves to doing that because they're too busy. But if I did this, but you don't know about this and you don't know about that. Listen, the last time I checked, Kunta Kinte ain't paying for your bills. I don't know about you, but I'm going to listen to, I only surround myself with people that can, for one, uplift me, two, are in a positive mindset. Rather, their financial bracket is here and here. They're acquiring to have more. So I know that we're in the same bracket. The ones that are down here trying to say, you up there think you're all it, you're this, you're that. Dude, it's okay that you think like that. Stay where you are. You're within your pool. You need to have that conversation with the people in your pool. You got to understand, Rick. Even me as myself, I know with this skin color and this hair, I'm the first they call out. Because I'm the L, the bar. I get it. And the bluer they are, the worse the comments. But it doesn't affect me, right? I'm going to talk to the people that put all that aside and say, hey, bro, what did you do to become this type of artist? How did you get your art from here to here? Hey, Vic, you wrote this book over here. How did you get your book to be the bestseller over here? Now my ego is put aside because I'm writing a book that's a piece of nothing. And I'm going to say, okay, Vic, walk me through A, B, and C, but I got to shut up. Now I'm leading myself into greatness, right?
Yeah. Yep. And everything you said is exactly what I want to capture, is that everything you just described, right, is reinforcement for me telling men you got to avoid being in these energy draining conversations that's really just unhealthy competition that do not add any value to you. You got to recognize this in your own families, and you have to recognize this outside of your family as well. Like, everybody don't deserve your smoke. Nobody deserves to be treated better than they behave. And what that means is you should know when to disengage. Because I think that with the way that trends are going on social media, is a major shift taking place right now, and we're in the middle of it, and we just need to acknowledge it, right? There's plenty of people that know a lot of great things, and it's a lot of people getting outed right now as being, false prophets pretty much in the content creator space. Like, I just saw, do you know who Sadia Khan is?
No.
Okay, well, she just got outed or whatever, you know what I'm saying, to being a fake escort coach that's also a side chick, you know what I'm saying?
And the Indian woman.
Yeah, she getting, yeah.
I know who you're talking about.
Yep, man. So when you're starting to see stuff like that, women got their own problems to solve. I talk about rule number 2, we don't argue with women, right? And what I want to do is start having the open conversation about what accountable masculinity is supposed to do.
But let me just frame it like this, because we don't argue with women, but let's be real. The women that are able to be a sponge and absorb what we're saying, they don't argue. Those are the women I concentrate on. The ones that argue, why would I have a conversation with you? You're already beneath me by arguing with me. you're already beneath me. There's no way I'm going to try to change your mind to listen to me. So I wouldn't engage in just like I wouldn't engage in a conversation like that with a man. I don't even want to make it a gender thing, because listen, there's only so much ratchet and ligs and wigs and waves and weaves and all this shit you can spew. That leads to no solution. That's just pointing a finger, right? So my idea is this: if I'm going to talk to somebody online like yourself, we're going to have a productive conversation where gender is not part of it, race is not part of it, because let's be honest, I ain't learning nothing from a black man right now. I'm not learning shit from him because he has shit, right? I'm going to go where the source is, where the book is. Now, if an intellectual black man comes into my life, shout out to Jake, and has something to offer and says, Antoine, this is where I've been and this is what I've done. Well, I want to know how you got that, Jake. Explain it to me. I'm going to shut up and listen to him. Now he's articulate. He's forming a proper sentence, and I'm getting it. And key words, he's willing to repeat himself. He has the patience to repeat himself because he knows he's schooling me right now. So I put my ego aside, whatever I have aside, to listen to him. But when men tell me they don't argue with women, I'm like, dude, why would you even talk to a woman that you have to argue? Like, where did you go to find that? Did you go like over here? Like, where did you go? Because the women I know don't argue with me.
Well, I'll say
they have a discussion with me, but they don't argue.
Well, see, here's why I'll say this right here, and this is where the gap comes in. First off, I'm an educated black man that's putting you on game too. Okay.
Exactly. Right. Okay. So we're having this conversation. Let's put that in perspective right now.
Yeah, but like, that's what we're doing. So what you asked was basically, how do men get in these conversations where they're arguing with women in the first place? Right?
I would like to know.
Well, this is my belief, and these are things that I've tested. Most of the men that argue with women are raised by women.
Yeah. Okay.
And without their fathers, they didn't have men in their life to tell them when to disengage. You know what I'm saying? And most of the guys that don't realize how often they argue with women don't even know what the source of it is, because part of the culture of African Americans and like where we live and stuff is that so many men have been raised by women, and they think that arguing with women is normal, and they don't even know it. I'm telling you, like the level of programming that's taking place in this country amongst men has psychologically caused them to feel obligated to try to defeat a woman at every turn that they are in some sort of connection with. You know what I'm saying?
That's not a man though, bro. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I wouldn't even say it's I want to use the word man in a more constructive
way. It's an undisciplined thinking man.
All right. He's an undisciplined thinking man raised by a baby mama at best. Right. Okay. Yep. So that guy has to elevate himself. He has to put his ego aside. And I always say that because men talk with their ego more than anything. They lead with their ego, meaning they don't have 2 cents to rub together. And I'm not talking in a financial way. Men today, okay, I only listen to motivational stuff and all that sort of stuff, higher power and all that on the internet because it feeds my mind and makes me see things in a different light. I think every man should do that. Me personally, I think every woman should watch videos of elegant women, especially in the black community, elegant women know how to speak, women that know how to dress, women that know there's a certain time dress code for. They have that eloquence about them, okay, the elegance about them, and I think that's what they should be listening to. But when you say the word man, for me, a man is a man that has his stuff together or looking to acquire and getting and building himself up to get his stuff together. That's a man, right? And he doesn't have to worry about leading because he's leading himself into a better future. I'm cool with that guy. That's the guy I want to talk to, right? But I'm not going to try to convince somebody over here that's only going to fight me and judge me. And like, I don't even care about that part of the community that judges me. They're going to judge me anyways, just by looking at me. So it's cool. But that's not who I want to reach anyway. And I think that for me, accountable masculinity should be focused on the men that get it, not the men you're trying to bring up. You ain't going to bring them up. You ain't going to bring them up. Get over it. You're beating a dead horse. And that's great. I'd rather the horse die on my end, but you're beating a dead horse. I don't want the horse to get up. I need you to stay down there so the others can rise and make a better generation to come. Breed with the ones over here and let these ones rise, because eventually we'll conquer anyways, right?
I'm in complete agreement with you, and that's why like the book is written for the disciplined man.
Right.
You know, and it's to reinforce, because like here's the thing, bro. A lot of the times we already be disciplined, but we don't have anything that reinforces it other than just your outcomes, right? But then when you start connecting with each other, like you say, hey, I like talking to you, Vic. I like talking to certain people, whatever, right? It's because now you're starting to meet like-minded people that's thinking the same way that you are, you know? And so
that's all I would seek. If I was a guy low tier, that's all I would seek out.
But if you had a desire to do better, which goes back to your point, leave those people where they are until they decide they want to do better. And if they're not ready to listen, and they're not going to ask the right questions anyway.
Listen, Vic, carrying on a conversation with somebody is not that hard. You can see a man reading a book and engage with him and saying, that's an interesting book. I always wanted to get into real estate. The conversation has started. You need to go online. I didn't even have this information growing up, right? We didn't even have this information growing up called YouTube, where you can actually hear somebody tell you how to buy a house from ground zero. Not the unrealistic ones, the realistic ones. You're like a mentor to the men that are out there already. So they have that access to you, right? But like you remember when I went on that show and I said I'm never going back because they're just not my level, right?
You're not gonna name the show.
I'm not going back, right? Because it was all ratchet shit, and I was like, okay, I don't fit in here, right? I'm gonna form my sentences, and I ain't gonna use y'all. Ain't gonna happen, right? I'll have jokingly, of course. That's just a joke for everybody watching. Jesus Christmas, because I know they're gonna tear me apart. Oh, he's a white man and all this shit. But anyways, whatever.
No, you get some good feedback over here, Andrew.
You know, because I know what they're gonna say, right? You remember how they attacked my skin color and hair, especially the ones that were really blue, right? So I was just laughing my head off with it. But anyways, I can't change that. But anyways, moving along. So you have to understand, those men that have that access to better influencers, better connections. I wish I had that more growing up. I wish I would have had a financial background with what I'm getting now when I was in my 30s, right? Or 20s.
Question. Let me jump right there. Do you believe that you get more? Do you think you get better information on social media now than you got growing up?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. I only connect with people that are actually doing it, and the ones that have a Google background that you can actually bring up and see what their holdings are. Because it's in that level of people we're talking about. Like today, everybody on the internet. For me, everybody on the internet makes $100K. I'm like, really? So you make 10 grand a month and plus after taxes? Really? You make that much? Obviously they don't, but really, do you even know what 100K is? And I'm just telling you, how do you maintain those assets? But I'm not going to get into that with them, right? But the men that have that kind of status, they don't have to justify it because they know you can Google them and their net worth will come up and whatnot, right? And they're not going to try to reach the people that make pennies. They're going to try to reach the people that are going to register, right? The men at that level know what 100K is. And when you say 100K, they can hear just by your vocabulary if you really make 100K. They know, right? They know how much you make just by your demeanor because they know what it takes that circle looks like. They train that circle. That circle is in their seminars. That circle is on their page. That circle is within their circle. That circles are in their emails. So they know. So the only person you're telling you're making 100K to is the social media you're contacting, right? But nobody in the rich, and I wouldn't say rich, nobody in that elevated state is looking at you going like, "Ooh, you make 100K?" No, right? They already know it because everybody makes 100K. I saw a girl on the internet saying she does hair making 100K. I like break that down for me because I know a girl that has a salon ain't making 100K, right? But I break that down for me. But that's another subject. Yeah. But my point to you is we're having this conversation because I think of you as an elevated man, right? You form proper sentence. You're able to have a discussion without an argument. You're able to rebuttal, right? Accountable masculinity and challenge me constructively, being with criticism and saying certain points that I go, "Ooh, shit. Okay, let me actually think before it comes out." I want to look like an ass right now.
Hey, and you know what, Antoine? Like I gotta say, I got a lot of respect for you in the sense that you know that you're not everybody's cup of tea.
I don't want to be.
And I know you don't want to.
Can I just say this? I don't want to be because then I'll have to lend out more money and help more people. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to put that disclaimer in there.
Everybody else missed the boat, man. You know. No, but
Okay.
I wanted to just be able to say, like, you know, you gotta have difference in delivery, because sometimes it's supposed to shape the way that you deliver your message. If you're gonna, this is a form of public speaking, right? You have to be able to hold your own. You have to have enough principle to stand on what you stand on. And I must say that when we first started doing content back in 21, I recognized that I have a very triggering language, but I know what I'm talking about. And so I was like, well, I need to write about it, because writing refines the way I deliver my message anyway. Then when I started doing it, I said, well, I know everybody else can learn from this, you know, because half the problem is your attitude. Your attitude determines your aptitude, as what it's an indication of your aptitude, as well as it determines your altitude, how far you can go and how high you can go and how fast, right? If you don't have a clean message when you get ready to speak, it's going to limit your outcomes. It's going to limit your opportunities, or it's going to expand them. Either way. If it's only focused on debate and just having a response to what somebody else said, just so I can one up you and do better than the other person, then it's got limited effectiveness. But if you're focused on solutions, the conversation travels much further. It lasts longer. It has more evergreen type of impact. That's what they call YouTube, is evergreen content. Like if you put something out there where people are learning from you, it lasts forever. It's applicable all the time.
It's part of your legacy.
It's part of your legacy. And that's the part where, if we're going to have conversations that are centered on criticism and not critiques with, you know, a solution to replace the bad behavior, it goes nowhere. It's all for effect. It's all for ego. It's all for show. So I would like to say that I appreciate how authentic your delivery is, regardless if everybody else understands it right away or not. You say what you say, and you can back up your conviction, and you can source it with things that everybody else can observe. Now, the point in saying all of that is that we have to respect good information no matter where it comes from.
Yeah, because that's it. Very wise of you to say that.
Yeah, we have to respect it no matter where it comes from. Even if somebody's showing us the worst version of ourselves, we got to say, you know what? I'm glad I don't fit that behavior, because I'm not going to defend things that I don't reflect. That's why I wrote the book, for the disciplined mindset people, is that because a lot of times the people in the disciplined mindset get punished for not defending stupidity, not apologizing for stupidity, when other cultures out there do not glorify the stupid parts of their culture. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They don't apologize for it. They say, oh yeah, that's white trash. White people have no problem with saying that that's white trash over there. I'm sure there's some ratchet people in Japanese, Asian, any other
everywhere
culture.
You go, bro. We're nothing special.
But nothing special, right?
Nothing special. But I want you to know something, because I have important people that listen to you through me, because they say, hey, I want you to listen. Tell me what you think, right? And and however you spew it, they get it in the way you meant it, because you're talking at that level where they can comprehend it. And I can tell you for a fact, the guests that you bring on sometimes, they go, oh, that's why he's taking it like that. He's at that lower key mindset. He will never comprehend what he's saying up here. It's like, I'll even break it down simpler, right? It's like, I'll say it through my art, because I'm better through my art. To understand art and appreciate art is to understand the finer things in life, because that is where art dwells. That is where a good book dwells, right? People don't look at a book and say, ooh, that's a lot of reading. They look at the book and go, shit, I got to get through that book. But the uneducated ones would go, you want me to read all that? Whereas the educated ones will go, I got to get started on that, right? It's simple read. I got to read a page a day, 2 pages. They'll discipline themselves to finish your book. The uneducated ones, are the ones that are lower tier, will say, well, when I get finished with it, I'll get back to you. Those are the ones that will probably never read it. So every time you talk and they say, hey, he's saying something that's true, Antoine, you should listen to that. I'm like, really? Oh, shit, let me tune in. Boom, I'm in. Those are the ones that I respect. Those are the conversations that you have that I'm like, I'm in tune with. I can do that and work at the same time because it's in sync where I'm at, right? Mentally. And I say this because I think, and I'll say it out loud, you are wasting your time with bottom feeders. That's like eating lobster all day. They're bottom feeders. You can't eat lobster all day. Because your message is so up here, you have to elevate your mindset to get it. Or else you're just gonna argue, criticize, judge, do all that other shit. They won't put aside how you look and grasp the message. Nah, they're gonna bundle it all together and say, oh shit, another one. Right? Just like when you went on those podcasts, who shall be nameless, and they tore you apart. But who was tearing you apart? The ratchet ones, the ones that can't form a sentence, the ones that don't get it, the ones that are baby mamas at best. I'm like looking at them going like, Jesus, why even go on a show like that?
Oh, I butchered them.
But you schooled them. And how you know that you schooled them is the ones that are like that didn't even rebuttal. They didn't have nothing to say. They just roll their eyes and strips and do all that other thing. So I was like pleased to see that. I couldn't be mad enough to do it. But
hey, that's the dirty work. And you know what, Antoine? That's the dirty work that comes with leading. What I mean is when you create something, I'm responsible for how the message goes out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm responsible for what people associate my brand with, right? So it don't matter what situation I go into, whether it be hostile or whether it be calm, I can give the same message with the same level of conviction, and I can explain why to those that are looking to even if they disagree when they ask me why, and I know it's disingenuous, I can still answer the question because I owe that. I don't need to be on camera froze up like I can't back up the very thing that I said.
Right.
But then the people that get it, when they say, wow, I didn't think about it that way. Now we can have the other 3-4 parts that go with that conversation to show why there's a division between a disciplined thinking person and an undisciplined thinking person, because the numbers and the data is all there. The outcomes are there. You know what I'm saying? But of course, you can't get that deep into the conversation if you're talking to ratchet people. So all they deserve is to be treated the way that they behave, you know, and I'm willing to do that too. Because
I wouldn't if I were.
Yeah, but the reason being is because people need to see warrior mentality.
But Vic, the thing is, that's what I'm trying to tell you. You know, that's what I'm trying to tell you. You will never, ever reach those people.
I don't care about reaching them.
Well, then your message is mute.
Well, here's what I'm saying. What I mean, I don't care about reaching them, right? It's the people that already follow my content, that trust my message, that when they see me in that type of arena, that they say, okay, he can hold his own. Because like it's easy to lull and rock people to sleep that follow you all the time. They trust you, right? Like there's a level of trust that you and I have with each other when it comes to doing this type of thing when we get on camera, that you know that you're in a respectful place, right? And you know it's not going to be something that's going to be used in a negative way. I'm going to give you the floor to say what you got to say. I'm not going to treat you like any other of these other platforms that you're describing that don't want to let you speak, right? So you have to be ready to go into hostile situations at times because like somebody's going to take your kindness for weakness at some point, right? Yeah, you can get up and walk away. You can. But there's sometimes where you're going to have to fight. You can't walk away from everything.
No, I agree with you 100% on that, right?
Yeah,
I agree with you. Listen, real strength comes in silence. I get all that, and I believe in that. It took me a lot of training and inner reflection to get to that point where silence is more powerful than. Right?
Hey, look, I'm telling you, I've seen you do it. I mean, like we could go back 21, 22.
Yeah, and I was having a conversation with a man about real estate and stuff, and talking to him, and I'm talking to him, and he's just looking at me, and he goes, dude, why would you think what you're saying makes sense when you're asking me about a question? And I just went, he goes, you're talking about something that you know nothing about, and you asked me a question that you're answering the question with. I just want to know where you want to go. And I'm like, damn it, I keep doing that shit. Okay, I got you. I got you now. I'm ready. Give it to me. Feed me. So I get the whole point of sometimes you can't, sometimes you do have to stand your ground, say your piece, and move on, right? But I think in order to bring change about and I want to say the Black community, because Lord knows they need help over there. Oh boy. In order to bring change about, I think we need to only focus on the ones that are willing to change, the ones that are not. I don't even think we should wait. The minute a person starts to argue is when I love when you do that. The minute a person starts to rebuttal or fight against you, that's when you put them on silence and just exit them out, because they're not getting your message and they're just there to argue with you. They're just there for their 15 minutes of fame. It's like Pop the Balloon. I don't even know why men and women go on that show, right? All it does is put Black people in a bad light. Like, you guys really tear each other apart, right? And there's nobody wants a relationship. Everybody wants their 15 minutes of fame and laughter and to make fun of somebody. Nobody really wants a relationship. And I don't even think the relationships ever work after that show. If anything, you made yourself look like an ass. And that's straight up. And when I look at that show, which I don't, but when it comes across the little snippet, I listen to just hear how people talk to hear how the community talks to one another, right? Because let's just say people outside of the race that watch that show say, wow, you guys really need to stick in your circle, because you can't do that shit out here, right? You can't, that's not going to work out here. You can't come home to Brad's family. You got to stay over there, right? And that's fine. But if you want to reach the ones that are over here and elevate your life, you have to be willing to, outside of Pop the Balloon. If you want a real solid relationship, you got to if a woman is looking for a relationship, now I'm talking a solid, grounded relationship, she's got to put her ego aside, and she's actually got to listen to the man with where she is in life. That's if she's even attracted to him. And if she's even attracted to him, she better make sure that he's attracted to her before she even has that conversation. If a man wants a dime, and I'll say this to any man, if you want a dime, you better have the finances to back up that dime. Now, you may say, oh, I don't want a girl that wants me for their money. Dude, you're taking her out for dinner. You're paying. Either way, you're paying for it. You're paying for it. And a dime costs money. So you have to be real. Men, we as men in the realm know, and I always say this, looks and height goes out the window when you're standing on your wallet. We as men know this, right? So I think a man should elevate himself to the best financial version of himself, because that's the only thing people see you coming with. They don't know your character yet. But at least they can look at you and say the man knows how to match his clothes and has a good pair of shoes on. At least that gets you in the door. But if you expect to have all this over here and look like yesterday's newspaper, if I'm a girl working at Denny's, I ain't looking at you, because you can't elevate myself. You can't take me out of Denny's. And if I even got remotely this much as a woman, know that I got good looks, I ain't looking at you. You know, a girl told me the other day, she always looks at the returning customers, what they drive, because that's the one she'll give better service to. And I thought that was very interesting, because she's right. She's a good-looking girl. She's a good-looking woman. And the only reason she told me that is because she was looking at what I drive. And I was like, oh, my goodness. So that's why you're having the conversation with me? She goes, yeah. At least she was honest.
You're also in Hollywood.
Yeah, but still, it doesn't matter where you go, dude. It doesn't matter where you go. If you're going to bring a woman into your life, be ready to take care of her. And the hotter the woman, the more demand. It's just the way it is. That's never going to change. I mean, let's be honest. Back in the day, concubines were the hottest women in the village. They weren't exactly the ugliest.
You know, I've let you ramble, right? Because you're talking about women again. And
sorry. Yeah, I was just trying to put things in perspective.
Yeah, I know it, but that's the point. That's why I had to set the foundation. Like, hey, I just let you go.
But this is for men. But this is educational for men that have big dreams, but aren't working towards them.
Yeah, I would tell you honestly that most men, from the conversations that I've been having with men offline, they're not focused on women at all. They're done.
They shouldn't be if they don't have two dimes to rub together, Vic.
I don't think it has anything to do with that though.
Then they're crazy.
No, they're not.
They are absolutely not. Are they married?
Most of them are focused and single, just like you were.
Right. Focused and they should be like that.
Yeah.
But don't tell me you're making all this for nothing.
No. Well,
okay.
Well, what I'm saying is that most of them, they're not concerned with relationships, and that's why I don't want to talk about the women. That's why.
But Vic, they don't have to be.
Well, that's why I'm telling you to lead the women out the conversation, because it introduces.
I was creating an analogy.
I know you were.
Okay.
But the thing is, it doesn't take but one word to cast a spell on the entire conversation. You can see people listen for key words just so they can run off on a tangent, and then like all of that stuff, like you just said before, about they can hear one thing and package up your image with it and say I don't like him, and then take it and go this way with it. They don't care. They shouldn't have. They don't get to regulate our standards, so we don't even have to talk about it, right?
Right, but those are the ones I'm not talking to. I'm talking to the ones up here. I'm not talking to those. That's what I'm trying to make you understand. The ones that are up here, Vic,
you don't have to make me understand.
No, I'm trying to make you understand with your audience. The ones that are up here are going to get what I'm saying. They're not going to look at it as a woman thing. They're going to look at it as a status thing.
Well, here's the thing. I know that they already understand it, so there's no point to bring it up. It just doesn't look like that to you. I talk to my audience way more than you talk to my audience.
Right.
So what I'm saying is that that's why I wrote rule number 2. The men that are already on this side of the conversation, they get respect from the women that they respect. They don't have to bring up the women that they don't respect. The men that are trying to get better, that pay attention to my content as well, they're trying to get out of being on the wrong side of the wrong conversation with the women that they do have, because they're trying to improve their relationships as well, And the problem is those men need to know how to assert themselves without hurting themselves in the process, because you got to fix what you already got. You can't just keep abandoning the ship. If you got support, and if you're in your relationship, like you talk about leading and all of that stuff, that means you got to correct your situation. You always have to self-improve, right? If you want better around you, then you have to be better from within first. So
right, I believe that. I believe a man should, if a man wants to improve his relationship, he has to self-improve himself.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. That's the point. So like, but even the exchange right here is good and it's healthy, because it's not, you can't blame a woman for being a woman.
No, they have a role and they have their own mindset.
Exactly.
They're good at what they do. I could never do what a woman does, nor what I want to.
But the minute that these men don't understand that she's being who she is only because you being who you are, you're going to have to do either some soul searching about if you really want to do the work for this relationship, or move on.
But that's what I'm saying. Elevated men know when they're talking to their woman, they have to put their ego aside. That's what men don't understand. That's what you don't get what I'm saying. Men have to put their ego aside when they're talking to their significant other. I'm not talking about the one you're tapping. I'm talking about your significant other. When you're talking to your significant other, you have to, as a man, elevated, you have to put your ego aside. She's not business. She's not your company. She's not a client. And men that are elevated know this, because they come home, drop their briefcase, women ask them how was their day, they ask how was their day, and now they're listening to her 100% fully attentive to her. That, in order to do that, you have to put your ego aside. You can't come home, bring work home, argue with yourself, be mad about what happened during the day, and have a conversation with your wife or your significant other. You have to put your ego aside. And that's what men need to know to do. And if you can't put your ego aside, don't go home just yet. Because she's not going to want to hear that shit, because she's been waiting for you all day. That's a fact. And that's where the disconnect is. That's where the disconnect is, because men bring home their ego. They talk with their ego to a woman. I'm talking about your significant other. She actually matters to you. You actually wake up next to her. Those are the ones I'm talking about. Not the ones you date, not the ones you see on your side and all that shit. No. Those are real men. That's why I use that word man very carefully.
Yep.
Very carefully.
You got to be very specific these days. You know what I'm saying? Because definitions matter, which is why like that changes the flow of the conversation as well, because a lot of people think that every piece of information that's being discussed is about them. And if you don't fit the behavior, then it's not about you. If you don't have those,
I agree.
That's what I talk about all the time. It's like behavior, because behavior determines what your options are. If you got the worst behavior, you're not going to get the best people in your life at all. Like, you're not going to keep favorable situations. Like, case in point, when you talk about elevating, the visibility of a platform or something, right? Eventually, you're going to have to decide who comes on your platform and who's not. You're gonna have to decide where you want to have certain conversations. I might be able to have the same conversation, but it might be more beneficial to go to somebody else's platform to do it.
That's on your level.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever it might be. Like, meaning if I get an invitation, like let's just say somebody wants to do some music content, right? I don't do music like that, so it's better for me to be on somebody else's platform that does music. You do art. I don't paint. I'm coming to Antoine's platform because he's talking about art, and I'm coming there to be a student on your platform because that's your classroom, pretty much.
So it's fair to say. So it's fair to say that accountable masculinity, that person has to come to that level of understanding, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Because I call it a certain level, accountable masculinity, right? Mm-hmm. I don't call it a level. I don't think it's never gonna register with the undisciplined mind. The person I'm not talking financially. I'm talking about the one that's looking to uplift themselves, build. Those are the ones I'm talking to, right? Yeah. I don't expect those to hear me, understand me. I don't want them to hear me and understand me. I don't care. You have nothing in my life that's significant, right? I care about the ones that get the message, the ones that want to elevate themselves. Those are the, like I said, I cut out all that, all the networks we used to talk about. I cut that all out of my life, right? And that's been excelling ever since. I didn't know it was such an anchor till I really stopped listening to it. So now I only listen to you, coach, people that are with a positive message and a message that get it. And I think accountable masculinity is at that level, right? I think it's at that level where you have to cut the anchor loose of the ones that are undisciplined and just come on to rebuttal what you say, and the ones that question everything you say and first of all, they don't even read the damn book. They just come on and wait for you to say what code you're talking about, right?
Yep.
So those are the ones that I resonate to, the ones that that's why I listen to you, because I'm like, oh, let me see what he has to say. And you see me when you bring a guest on and that guest is talking shit. I'm like, Vic, and I'm the first in the comments to go, what the hell is this idiot talking about? Man ain't got shit, and what are you listening to him for? Vicky, you're accountable masculinity, for crying out loud. Mute button and exit. Like, Jesus Christmas, why are you entertaining this idiot? Like, he's not getting it. He will never get it. He will never make money. He will always be at 45,000. Sorry, I don't even think men should want to remain down there, especially with the way the economy is. I think men need to focus on their finances, where if they are at 30,000 working in Burger King, I think they should learn how to get to 35,000. I think they should learn how to work at Starbucks and Burger King. I think once they do that, they should learn how to invest in Burger King and Starbucks. I think men need to keep rising. We as men should never be here. We need to be going here. And if people say, well, when does it end? It ends when you're dead. Because even when you're retired, your finances and your money should still be working for you. But you have to set that up. And you should be checking it once a week or once a month. We will never stop working as men because that's our role. We can enjoy our retirement, but we're always looking to elevate every day. And I think men need to do that. We need to focus on our growth every single day.
You know what I said? I was talking to you wouldn't know what I said, but like I was talking to a couple guys recently, Cabby. I said, you know what the reality of being a man is? You ain't meant to be happy, bro. And what I'm saying, when I say this, what I mean is you're supposed to be fulfilled. Happy is like moments, like you went to some festival or you had a great day here and there, and then 6 other days was trash. You know what I'm saying? But you had this one great day that offset, you know what I'm saying, all of the bad, you know, some culminating event like today's Labor Day, right? Somebody would have said, man, I can't wait to barbecue, you know, or your favorite football team loses, you know, on the day that you set all your time aside to watch your team play.
Right.
Shout out to Alabama for losing this past weekend.
Yeah, that was sad though, but okay, sorry.
It was rough. It was rough. But the but see the fact that we can even be, you know, happy about that, you know, or look at the moment and compare the things. But men are put here to teach, correct, train, and you know, all of that is part of what leading is. You know what I'm saying? Whether you teach yourself or people that's responsible for you or whatever you got going on, you're supposed to be doing things that are progressive in life. You are burdened with thinking about solving the next problem. You are burdened with finding a more efficient way to do the thing that you've been doing, you know, because like going back to the point of what you said, setting things up, that requires work. As a man, your mind is not allowed to be still. You know what I'm saying? There's something else that you got going on. You know what I'm saying? So there should be, you know. And my man Sam just comment says this live. Yes, this is absolutely live right now. This is live.
Oh, is it live? I thought you said you wanted to record it.
Nah, I decided to go ahead and do this one live. I'm probably going to reproduce it though on YouTube or something later. But like, this is necessary. You know, the work that men do is continuous until you're dead. You know what I'm saying?
But that's the way it should be.
That's the way it should be.
I'm sorry to be a man, Vic.
And let me say this: the men that don't believe it should be that way are too busy blaming. They're not working hard enough, and they're not doing anything with their creativity. They're not producing anything else that people can use. They're waiting on somebody to hand something to them. You're not going out and doing the harder work that needs to be done. You know, there is no rest for men until
Come on, Vic, let's make it simpler. They're losers. Let's just make it simpler. They're losers.
We're not talking to the losers, remember?
I know, but I'm just saying the men with all what you just, let's just say they're losers. If a man ain't doing all what you just described, is a loser. And he deserves what he gets.
Yep.
Because that woman next to you is the best you will ever do. If you have one.
Deserve what you earn. That's it.
That's it. They're losers. I think a man needs to, there's always something to learn every day. You don't know everything. I'm an artist by trade, but I want to learn about the market. I want to learn about how my money works for me. I want to learn about real estate. So I'm always wanting to find something on YouTube that talks to me about that, keeps my mind, keeps me motivated. And if I'm not motivated, I look for inspirational videos and motivational videos, or I'll send my mentor a text and say, listen, I'm feeling like this. What's your recommendation, right? So there's always somebody. I think a man needs to just keep evolving. We're men. We will always be evolving. And don't get me wrong, women too, because women have to become the best version of themselves as well within their own, circle. But I think men need to always be working. A retirement means you're retiring from your full-time job and your money is working for you. And we work towards that. That's how I'm looking at it. And that's where I think accountable masculinity lies. It is where men need to be, where men need to stay, where men need to rise. That's what accountable masculinity is.
Yep. Right?
Because if you think about it, if you're saying accountability, which is like kryptonite to most people, right? It's one word that, man, people just take that and run with it.
Yeah. But it is.
I mean, it's hard to take accountability, man. I'm sorry. It's hard.
Do you know why it's hard to take accountability? In your opinion, why do you think it's hard to take accountability? And I'll tell you why I think
because you have to admit it's you. You're the problem.
What's the
people want to say that to themselves?
What's the most recent moment in since we've been doing content where you say, damn, I gotta fix that about myself? Give me a story.
Dude, just the other day I could tell you, man, I have a project to do. And the project has taken me forever. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Okay, I'm busy. No, it's not that I'm busy. I'm just procrastinating. And I don't like it. But I took it on, and I got to be accountable to finish it. But it's not that I'm busy. I'm procrastinating. I'm procrastinating. That's right there. I said, after I started saying that to myself, that's my excuse. That's my line of getting myself off the couch now to finish it. It's Antoine, stop procrastinating. Just, it is what it is. Get up and finish it. And that's a fact. You know, remember I told you I'm looking for a wife, not a girlfriend, right? And I had to take accountability. I said, listen, I got to put myself in places where wives are, not where girlfriends are. I have to put myself in that frame of mind, right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I got to say, okay, but you got to, in order for that to happen, you got to take time out, accountable time out to do it. You know, you got to take time out with your boys that are all in the same boat as you. We got to take time out to plan it, to do it. So now we're all in constructive criticism of ourselves to say, okay, guys, let's put ourselves where they are, not where the entertainment.
Yeah. I mean, I think accountability, I think it gets thrown around so loosely because nobody knows the real definition of it other than just saying, I got to do this or I got to do that. I think accountability doesn't exist unless you have any discipline.
True. I agree with you. That's good.
Yeah,
I like that.
And when I say discipline, right, a lot of people hear punishment, but here's how I look at discipline. Time, routine, commitment, anything good that it takes to get something done, it requires discipline. Anything that's worth doing requires discipline. You didn't become a good painter by just watching YouTube. You already knew how to paint. YouTube enhanced whatever it is that you're doing. So for learning different techniques, you got to get the basics down first. Establishing the basics requires repetition, routine. All of that is one word captured is discipline. Like if you're thinking that accountability is a pill that you take when you do something wrong, then all you're going to do is just be wired to apologize because you're going to be doing it in a manipulative way. Some people rather ask for forgiveness than permission that way, you know, because like, oh, I didn't know it. And that's really just manipulation. See, accountability without discipline is just a performance. It's just manipulation because the minute that it doesn't go right, you can say, well, I tried. And trying is just it's just an easy out. It's a permission slip for failure, for not accomplishing something. You have to do it. And if you're going to do something and you got to do it the right way, that's the only way to get it done, right? If you either did it or you didn't. If you half-assed it, you just still didn't do it. That's all you did was just half-assed it, whatever it was, right?
Right.
You had to have enough discipline to be like, you know what, I got to stop procrastinating, you know, and do the work, you know. Accountability is the conversation you have about what you need to get done, and then the discipline is deciding to do it.
Let me ask you something.
What's up?
Wait, I want to word it right because I want to say it. Do you think you spoke on gender wars, right?
Yep.
Do you think the gender wars are happening between the men that got their shit together, or the gender wars happening between the men that don't got their shit together?
Oh no, the all of this stuff is from people that don't qualify, won't accept what they qualify for.
Okay, so we can say that it's the lower tier, right?
Oh yeah, easily.
Okay, so let me ask you this, and I want an honest answer. Why do you want to fix that, or why do you think you can stop that if they're lower tier?
Because truthfully, the mindset of those people that fit that behavior is getting mimicked in other ways. Meaning, like, there's some people that could put a suit on and be a functioning cokehead, a functioning, you know what I'm saying, drug addict or something like that, right? That same way he conducts himself away from business is always in the background, and he's going to always be a liability. You can't trust people that can't control their meat. You know what I'm talking about? Like, for instance, Shannon Sharp, right? Imagine if you had a big deal with Shannon Sharp in recent history, right? And that $100 million deal he had for his podcast falls through, but you were part of that. And now he can't do the deal because he can't control himself. His lack of sexual discipline killed the deal. You know what I'm saying? Overall, if you had somebody that you wanted to work with that had an affinity for making bad decisions in public because he had no emotional discipline, right? That same behavior, it fuels a negative image, the negative optics that goes along with it. the gender war isn't just about sex, it's about the image of men, because we always get the blame no matter what.
So the gender war for you is what? Is it between two people, or is it just gender war against what? What's the, if it's men against what?
It's the mindset of how men put themselves out in the world and put themselves in disadvantaged positions that allow other people to negatively criticize them.
So you're not talking about the gender war between men and women?
No, not per se, because if men fix themselves, everything else fixes itself.
Right. Right.
So
that's fair to say. So it's not the gender war. I just want to make sure we're specific. So it's not a gender war between trying to bring black people, black women, and black men together, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, good. All right.
It's only black men getting themselves together because everything else falls in line. Women have their
gender
own
war. You're saying the gender as in a man bettering himself to have better pickings.
That's correct.
Okay. Then that needs to be, I think then that needs to be your lead. I think that for me, that's not what I hear, right? I don't hear that. I hear when you say gender wars and I hear you talk on it and I hear your guest speak on it, it seems like I'm between a man and a woman thing. That's why I wanted to ask that question to you. Because if it's a gender war, as in the man bettering himself and arguing with other men, and that's the war or internal war, then okay, that would be more of what I wasn't getting.
Yeah, because and that's why like I created that conversation just so you can ask that very question, just so I can explain it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because I know it's going to lead to a bigger conversation. You know what I'm saying? Because the war within all men, the war that's outside is really what the one that's within all men. Like men are battling lust, they're battling envy, they're battling the same things that, you know what I'm saying, that women do too.
But you don't think, okay, so then the message, I think then the message is getting lost in translation when you say it like that, because you've never explained it like that to your audience, because I've always understood it between men trying to get with women or women trying to get with men, because the women that come on always speak on how women are, and the men that come on always speak on how men are. So that's where I was getting confused, saying, what is the gender war? Because if the men got their shit together, there ain't no war with no woman, because he's not entertaining her anyways.
That's why rule number 2 exists. I've explained this in its in-depth entirety, right? And you see it the way that you even just explained. He said when the women come on, the women talk about the women, and that's what I want to happen.
Because the women talk about the women talk about the war between the men.
The women, but that's the issue for the women. The women that have an issue, right? Most of their issues are tied to their male-centeredness towards the wrong men. That's their issue to solve. So this platform just shows that women are having the right conversations too.
Women are not having the right conversation because they don't even know how to. They don't even hold themselves accountable.
Listen to what I said specifically.
You just said what you said, and I'm just saying.
I said the women that come here are having the conversations that women need to have.
That's what? Men or women? Or women amongst women?
Women amongst women. Like it's
okay. And I'm telling you, when I watch your show, they always talk about the men.
Have you see? Did you see?
I watch your show, Vic, and I'm telling you what I'm getting.
Did you see my episode with Jada Bell? Did you watch that entire thing?
I've watched a bit of it. Jada, remind me which one was Jada Bell, because
she has a Jada Bell podcast. She's very light skinned. She's very Bible centric, but she delivers a message in a very, very calm, digestible way. She and I did an episode about maybe 2 months ago, and it was in great detail, great depth, and she talked about how she coaches women. She's doing the work. There's plenty of women out here that are doing the work, but they get covered up by all of the noise because the men pay attention to the noise. So if men aren't watching those particular episodes that I've done already to see that I do have access and I am talking to women that do reflect what men respect, then they just need to go on my YouTube channel and check it out. You know what I'm saying? In fact, I'll drop the link on here in a second.
Yeah, I just think like I said, from my opinion, I just think that if you're saying gender war, it just needs to be defined more of the men dealing with the men, the gender as a man dealing with internal man stuff.
And to add on to that, I'm about to bring someone up on the platform right now, Jessica Lynn Frazier.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing all right.
You know, I would greatly appreciate you coming in at a great time, because I talk to Jessica all the time about what women, men need to be focused on individually.
So
You know,
I would greatly appreciate
you whatever you got
you
going
coming
on.
in at a great time. I talk to Jessica all the time about women.
Can you mute that YouTube or the mute the Facebook page?
We got really low volume right now. Hold on.
No, I think she needs to mute the page, right?
Yeah, you need to mute the Facebook page that the sound's coming off of.
It is okay. Hold on 1 second.
All right.
Is that better?
Yes, way better.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So I talk to Jessica all the time about what men need to do and what women need to do. Women is what Jessica's focused on. She sees what needs to be done. She knows what the issues are and where they lie and all of that, right? The women that are in my Facebook group are there to police the other women, because the men don't need to be focused on them altogether at all. I'm doing so much other work away from what people see on YouTube and other social media platforms that you can't even highlight it all unless we come online and I bring some of the people that's up. So what Jessica knows me from is like, man, I've known Jessica over 20 some years. She's, you know, a wife. She's had a ton of experience. She's a veteran as well, and she knows what I'm about. So the other work that's been done, you know, that exists long before I decided to embark on YouTube content creation, writing books, or anything else, I've been reflecting this in my personal life for, you know, if there's anybody that can say that, she's seen it. You know, she remember when I had low to no hair. She remember when I had a box Chevy on 26s. She didn't remember me when I had
A motorcycle, renting an apartment instead of owning duplexes and not doing Airbnbs and all before all of it.
Yep.
I've seen it.
Yep. So you got to have somebody that can speak to your whole resume, because if you just waiting on it to happen on camera, you're not going to get it all. You know what I'm saying? And there's a reason that I've done I've taken the approach that I have, because I wanted to be authentic, to let everyone know that this didn't just happen overnight.
Nope.
You know? And so I don't expect people to get the message overnight. I don't expect them to get it in a week or a year, because that's poor expectation management on my part, you know. But when I talk about how to craft a message, is to get everybody involved in the conversation first, and then make them ask clarifying questions. Because truthfully, you tell people the direct answer, they're still not going to listen to you anyway. So the only way, what I've demonstrated is that people don't know how to, they know how to argue better than know how to solve problems. And then when they start asking the right questions, then we can get to the meat and potatoes of it, and I can answer that too, you know. But the very media that manipulates people is the same tactics that I'm using right now. Everybody's not trained to do things. They just know how to create engagement. Well, they call it engagement, and they really just creating conflicts, but they don't know how to solve a problem. They don't know how to walk them to an area and say, hey, we can fix this with the right people, you know. And we got to separate the people that's going to keep poking holes in the boat from the ones that's going to row the boat. You know what I'm saying? So, and it looks crazy until you get to the point when you're like, man, I've been duped. Yeah, you have been. This whole platform is everybody else being tricked. I'm not here to fight nobody. I don't need to. I got a whole different agenda. I'm not on social media for the same reasons that people that are in conflict are on social media.
Yeah, but let's be real. The ones that are in conflict and doing all that ratchet shit, they're making money. They want to make the money. They're in the wave of making money. That's, you know, it's like sex sells, you know, controversy, argument, all that shit sells, right? So they're gonna make their money, and I get it. But all right, I get it. And those are the ones that you sell out and go in that route, and you know,
they all sell out.
They all sell out, right? But none of that.
The problem with exactly that is that they're not contributing to the positivity of the culture in any way, shape, or form, they're contributing to the negativity of the culture. And so when you do that and you put out these stereotypical Black people, this race, this gender, this everything that you do, when you contribute to those stereotypes instead of contributing just to being people and being disciplined and being responsible, then you fuck up everybody's algorithms 100%.
Right. We agree on that. I agree totally on that.
Right.
Listen, that's what happens when you go after the money over the content, right?
Right. But there's way too many Black men and Black women that are so focused on content and not making the things that they would rather say and rather do because they're worried about how many views they're going to get or not going to get. Like if you look at my TikTok page, I don't have trending anything.
Right.
I show taking care of my kids, my baking, taking care of my chickens, all of the stuff that I do, but none of that has anything to do with fighting, arguing. There's no he against she against he. There's none of that. I don't have a lot of followers. I'm okay with that.
Well, you wouldn't have a lot of followers for one in the Black community, right? Because we're not talking about what the entertainment they want.
We're not talking about hair. We're not talking about nails. We're not talking about makeup. We're not talking about BBLs.
You're not talking about anything. You're not talking about anything that they want to hear, right? Because let's be real. If they were more solution based, the image of the Black man or Black woman wouldn't be what it is, right?
Exactly.
So they're actually keeping it alive and proving the stereotypes right. Because I believe a stereotype starts from somewhere. So you can talk.
It absolutely does.
Okay,
yes.
So if you're gonna feed into that stereotype, you can't expect other people to look at you and expect something different when they see you coming, right?
Right.
Okay, so that's when I agree with what other cultures are saying about it.
Mm-hmm.
Highlighting it. So I agree with them. I agree. Would I be worried about dine and dash if I see a bunch of crowd? Yeah, because that's what you guys are highlighting and laughing at because somebody's filming it to upload it. And it ain't a white person, and it's not a white person, right? It's not a white person. So in order for me to see things differently, you have to show things differently. But that will never happen in the Black community, ever.
No, it does happen. It just never ends up being popular, Antoine. It happens because I know it. It's on my algorithm that it happens.
Great, but we're talking
generally, it never ends up being popular, and people don't see it because it's not part of the stereotype of what people are looking for.
Jessica, that's where I'm talking from. So generally, I'm talking generally. I'm not talking about my anecdotal experience. I'm talking about generally. So if generally this is what you promote, then generally you should understand why they see you like that, and you should not be acting surprised. It should not be like, oh, I can't believe they did this. Oh, I can't believe they see us as this. That's what you advertise. That's what you. The Carnival Cruise didn't happen with white people filming it. It didn't happen with white people filming it. White people uploaded it, but they didn't film it. Right? So that's in a boat by itself. That's in a boat by itself. So you can't expect the image to change if you're the one highlighting it for looks, likes, views, and money. Okay.
Right.
So then that's why I was telling Vic, it'll never change.
It won't.
Okay, good.
It won't until we find a way to change the algorithm where we're putting out all this stuff and actually promoting it. Because I follow a lot of Black women and Black men that are self-sufficient, where they have their own land and they have solar panels and they're gardening and they're raising animals and they're doing all this stuff, but it's not popular because nobody wants to see us actually being people. And so it's really hard. It's really hard. Like I said, I don't have followers. And what I give, if you ever take a chance to look at my TikTok, what I give is information on self-sustainability. I don't do just bullshit.
But Jessica, you're talking about the black people viewing it, right?
What's wrong with me molding my wife?
I'm talking about everybody.
Okay.
Everybody.
Wait. The white people don't care. They just look at what you upload. So you're talking about changing the views of how the black people upload it. And the black people is what you want them to gravitate towards your message. Because the white people don't care about your message because they don't have that problem. You're talking about having a group of the culture gravitate towards your positive message to bring change about, right?
I'm talking about the group of our culture that should gravitate towards everybody giving the same message I am, because there's a lot of us giving this message, but they're not as popular as the other black people on social media that are posting ratchetness and posting fights and posting all the bullshit that
the general
population is not interested in doing better for themselves. Right. And so if we keep posting the do better for yourself, that's what should happen, but it's not.
But it's not.
And I think that it's based off of a lot of men aren't also posting the great things that they're doing.
Yeah. And let me jump in right there.
Men? I'm just curious. Wait a minute. Why men?
Let me get in here real quick. I want to bring my man Sam Kamani up here. You know, he's the first time he's been on the platform on the live. Glad you was able to pop over, boy. What's going on with you?
How y'all doing?
Pretty good, man. So
thank you for having me.
Yeah. What do you want to contribute?
I was coming on when listening to Antoine at first, and I think something that he said that was kind of key for me. And Vic, you answered it by saying, hey, essentially, what's the motivation? Okay, it gets put out on a slow drip, so there's no expectation of getting it immediately. But I think kind of like a logo or a slogan, you constantly put it out there. When talking to black people, I've been talking online for years, and I like the approach that you have as far as beyond the algorithm, because I've always been like that. I don't care about views. I haven't monetized myself. I haven't run ads. I don't have a subscription, but you can fuck with me, and I've helped people out, similar to how Jessica is saying. I just live this regular life. I show things from my life. It's kind of like digital scrapbooking. If you do kick the bucket, at least somebody can look back to your social media, and hopefully you wasn't sharing a bunch of bullshit at that point. Facebook just recently deleted a whole bunch of videos. Probably had about 500 videos just talking to the people. So, just remain as authentic as you can and do what you do, but just be very clear about who you're talking to and why you're talking to them about it. And then as other people come on, they're able to give understanding. That you just said, like you've been talking with Jessica for 20 years. I got people that I've been interacting with online for 20 years. So before social media, right? And then you link up on social media. Then social media takes forward, and this is actually a big part of life. When were you ever gonna be able to sit with other people and share in such a way?
Well, so I agree with everything you just said, actually, right? My point is this: we're all just generally speaking, right? And right now, generally outweighs your anecdotal experience. Your anecdotal experience, my anecdotal experience means absolutely nothing. It took me forever to change my algorithm, right, to get off all that ratchet shit. I had no idea all that ratchet shit was so prevalent on my page until I started deleting people. And I'm like, oh my, and I started with unsubscribing. That's how I got it to change. So now it's all positive stuff. And like I said, I'm very selective on who. I'll never go on certain platforms again. I will talk to Vic, I will talk to people, and I'll say it clearly on my level, period. And I don't care if you say what level on my level. And I'm good with that. I don't need you. I don't want you. The less friends I have, the less people I have to lend money to. I'm good with that, right? I only want to go on platforms where you can take accountability for how it looks, admit how it looks, admit we're the ones putting it up, uploading it, and praising it, bring change about that way. But don't come on and say other races and other cultures do the same thing and promote it, because they don't. Because they really don't care what we're doing, because they got better things to do, right? We have to stop it within ourselves. We have to take accountability that we're the ones uploading it. You understand? I don't know about you, but I am calling a police officer if shit hits the fan in my house. And I don't care if he's black or white. But I'm not going to say police officers are all bad when I just got out of a ticket just for being nice. That's all I'm saying. So you have to take accountability for your own habits and your own asinine ways that you portray. And you can't blame other people for being scared when you're the one uploading what they should be scared about. That's all I'm saying. That's being fair. That's taking accountability. That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, the ratchetness is prevalent enough where there's the need for an accountability source. That's where I think Vic is spot on to even have the notion to build a platform around it. A lot of the guys that are out there, like myself, like this is live from somewhere most people wouldn't decide to live. I live in the hood. So, you know, when you're having these conversations with people online, it's very important to remember that you're still dealing with real people online. You know, I understand what you're saying about dealing with people that are on your level. You want to deal with people who, you know, in short, understand, right? But you want to be able to relay that message based off of your anecdotal experience, because all we really have is our anecdotal experience. So if I respect my experience and I see you, then I've got to be able to respect your experience, because I know that's all you got, because that's all I got, right? So you meet people where they are. Jessica's telling you, like, hey, I'm growing in the backyard. I've been threatening to grow in the backyard for Lord knows how long, and I've got no less than 250 people in my list that just grow in their yard. I'm just on Facebook, right? I got 2,500 friends. I talk to and reference black people, so I don't have a lot of white people. I don't have a lot of others. I'm a product salesperson, but I don't push that on people because of the price point, and basically because I wasn't structured enough, right? If I was big and accountable masculinity and being accountable for all the ideas I have, and then running, you know, marketing online, then, you know, I could probably get it popping. That's just not my space, right? So you gotta appreciate folks for where they're coming from, and the people who are ratchet, you got to leave them where they are. And you got to realize that a lot of the people who don't participate in ratchetness, they actually consume ratchetness. Like, I get on my wife's case a lot. Like, you're so much smarter than these people. Like, don't get inspired by these dumb hoes, you know?
But Kimani, is it, how do I say it? Kimani? Am I saying that
Yeah,
right?
Kimani, yeah, you would pronounce it just like you would in Spanish.
You know, when people tell me they live in the hood, I go, great, but you don't associate with people in the hood, right? You can go there and sleep and wake up and go back to work, but you don't have to associate with that crowd, right? Just because
my wife is from the hood. My wife's from around the corner. This is where I'm from.
Hold on, let me give you what he just said, Antoine, real quick. Let me give you what he just said. So his wife participates in watching ratchet shit, and he gets on her about watching ratchet shit, right? Even though they live in the hood, that doesn't mean that has to be her personality, even if she is from the hood.
Right.
So even though I didn't grow up in the best, I do not promote ratchet TV in my house. Nobody in my house watches ratchet TV.
Exactly.
I don't let my small children listen to Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, nothing else. I don't, because they don't listen to ratchet stuff. Okay, we do the Isley Brothers appropriately for their age. We do any song that can be edited, clean, and all of those things for them to learn about love and functional relationships, or, you know, Baby Shark, right? Because, like, they need to learn their colors, the ABCs, and all that other stuff. But it's about how you present yourself to other people. Now,
Right.
I personally am fully capable of being just as ratchet as everybody that I see online. Am I? No. Why? Because, this is going to be a lot of people are going to have a problem with this. I'm not allowed to.
By whom? Who doesn't allow
I have a husband. I have a husband that does not allow me. I have a husband that I respect enough that does not allow me to do what everybody else does. And so, like I just told Vic earlier, I was adding him to this group so that he could help teach everybody else, women included, on what's acceptable and what isn't. Because when I met him, I was rowdy as hell, as Vic.
Well, then you were lucky to get him then, right?
Yes, I absolutely was.
I'm glad you said that, because if you would have said no, I would have said, come on now.
Oh, no. I'm not a liar. Antoine, we know Jessica's not a liar.
No, but
this man picked me up, and
Jessica,
the first date that we had, the first date me and my husband had, I was about to stab a dude in his back for calling me a bitch. My husband picked me up and removed me from the situation and kept me from going to jail. And he wasn't even my husband at the time.
Jessica.
Okay.
But Jessica, just for the record, if your husband got with you like that, I would have blamed him if you were still like that. Because I would have said, brother, that's the best you can do.
Exactly. Right? Which is why I'm not. Which is why I'm not like that. Which is why I'm not like that. Because he doesn't have to do that anymore. You can ask him.
Well,
he doesn't have to do that anymore.
I can tell you're not like that, actually, because you're actually by the way you're talking and you take accountability with your words. I'm cool with that. Like I said, if a woman could take accountability with her words and how she's speaking, I'm cool with that. If you can thank your husband for actually sticking with you when you were ratchet, I commend him. I wouldn't have gone that far. The minute I saw you get violent like that, you would have seen the door. Because I was like, no, I'm not looking to change anybody, right? Because I believe,
no, you're right. You're right. He did not change me. What he did was make me realize the person that I was. So that's not changing. Well, I did not adapt anything outside of what I already knew I was, but I was stuck in a masculine setting before I met him. So when I met him, I was stuck in my masculine. And so being with him for the very short time before we got married, which I've said plenty of times was 10 days.
Okay, but Jessica, let's be real.
He allowed me to be feminine, which I was never allowed to do.
Wait, first of all, I believe if a woman says that to me, she's not feminine to begin with, because I cannot teach you how to be a woman. That's on you. But
no, I didn't say no. Hold on. What? I did not say he taught me how to be feminine. What I said was I was surviving in my masculine, and he allowed me to be feminine. Not teach me. He didn't teach me.
Again, I don't believe in a man having to allow a woman to be feminine, period. If I have to allow you to be feminine, first of all, you wouldn't be in front of me. But that's besides the point. So I'm saying this. Your husband knew he was up here. He had to come down to your level here to make you elevate you to here. Now, most women aren't willing to, most men that got their shit together aren't willing to come down here and meet you. They're like, nah, I'd rather find a woman that is feminine, that is eloquent, knows how to wear a dress, knows she will never wear pants, crosses her legs when she sits down, eats with the right fork. That's him coming down.
I did all of that. Hold on. I did all of that. And I taught my husband the difference between a salad fork, a shrimp fork, and a dinner fork.
Let me finish. Let me finish. Again, you said you were willing to stab somebody down here. I said a man that has his shit together up here is not risking it for a woman that's going to stab down here. Your husband was willing to come down here, associate with you, make you see another side of things so you can get where he's coming from, right?
No.
Okay, so you're saying your husband was the type of guy that would relate to you wanting to stab somebody.
And understanding it and being more level-headed than I was, yes.
Listen to what I just said. So you're saying your husband was willing to understand you willing to stab somebody and try to bring a different side of you outside of that, right?
He was not my husband, but
No,
yes.
you know what I mean. I'm saying he's your husband now. I'm saying when he wasn't your husband, listen to what I'm saying. He was willing to take the time to understand you, that you were willing to stab somebody and make you see another side of things, correct?
Yes.
Great. I'm saying men that have their shit together aren't willing to do that because they don't need to. The options are better, so they're going to seek elsewhere. Your husband did you service and did a great thing by elevating you to get where he was originally. And had he not brought himself down to your stabbing level, you would have never been with him.
Oh no, that's not true. But not me not being with him, but him not being with me. Hold on. He would have not been with me.
He would have not been with you.
He would have not been with me had he not brought.
Scenario,
that is what I said.
In the exact stabbing scenario, I think, and what Antoine is getting at is like, hey, at least he reached his arm out and grabbed you back, right? Because what Antoine is saying, like, as a dude with my shit together, I've been gone, right? But and I don't think Jessica's not yielding to what you're saying, Antoine, about, you know, this guy got me, right, all the way down to when I was acting at my worst, and just to display, like, hey, I can act at my worst. I think a lot of this stuff is like good versus bad. I had a good dialogue with somebody in that culture post, you know, where he's like, oh, okay, I can respect that you're separating good for bad. I come from bad, like from the worst, and it's not to brag on it. So I don't browbeat people who are on the bad side. Like, this is live from the hood, and yeah, tell my kids about the people on the strip. Like, you see the people on the strip, don't act like that. I see little bad white kids and I point at them and I say, don't act like that, right? So this is, again, that's a whole need for accountability. And as people roll with it, accountability should keep things harmonious. And anybody who argues accountability, you know, to Antoine's point, you know, sweep them to the side, sure, but you know, you got to know how to deal with those folks too.
You're right. Deal with them, yes.
I think that it would be different if he did deal with that situation and I fought him about it instead of being submissive to him as my man at the time, not my husband, my boyfriend, whatever he was at the time. Me being submissive to him, I think speaks volumes to his accountability. I don't think he got on my level. I don't believe he got on my level in order for him to be able to, for me to not fight him just as much as I was willing to defend my own honor, which I've always had to do.
But Jessica, that's what I'm trying to make you understand. Men that have their stuff together, building, have actually something to lose, financially sound, growing, are not going to comprehend a woman that's willing to stab somebody. They will say, no, that's not conducive to my life. They would walk away. Your husband, again, through this understanding, gave you a chance to understand what you were dealing with and was willing to lower himself to say, I'm going to uplift this woman to where I need her to be. He did that for you. The average man that's got his shit together has better options and does not need to waste his time on a woman that is willing to stab somebody because he's got more to lose than you. And there's more productive women out there than one of a lower class that he has to deal with. That's what I'm saying. Right. That's all I'm saying.
You're right.
And I commend him for doing that. I commend him for doing that. So if more black women would realize what a man's position is that's elevated above them, is willing to do, would shut the hell up and let him do it. That's a leading man. But he's also a leading man when he goes, you're not conducive to my life. You're not bringing anything positive, and you're not somebody I want to waste time trying to change. I'll just go get it elsewhere. That's where your husband, I could tell.
I'm not arguing that.
Okay.
I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying I don't feel like I would ever think my husband a lesser person for what he did do for me.
But it's not you to say that. We're talking other men. We're talking
no matter what you think. We're talking about other men.
We're talking about other men would look at him like that. And he knows that.
Most men.
Yeah. He
like,
does know that.
See what I tell you?
He's over here nodding his head in agreement. I'm not fighting it. I'm not fighting it. He's nodding his head in agreement.
And I commend him for doing that, because you know what? You're called a diamond in the rough, and he just polished you. That's all it is.
Yes, very much so.
Right. Men today, we don't care. Men on his level aren't polishing no more. They're done, because too much was that. They lost too much trying to polish a diamond. You know what they're going to do? They're not going to find a diamond in the rough. They're going to find a diamond that's going to elevate them. And that's all I'm saying. And
to your point, and that's what I was talking about. Men have checked out of doing that.
Thank you. Yes,
they have checked out. They're not going down into the trenches to deal with anybody that want to play WWF. They don't want the women that's running over other.
Yeah, I'm gonna get out.
They're not, like, it's going to take more than what you look like at this stage to get a man's attention and commitment. You know what I'm saying?
I'm bringing it back to Vic's channel.
Hey, Vic, drop me, add him.
Accountable sexual mass discipline. That's bringing it right back to what Vic is saying.
Yep. Like, men are not going to go into these high risk situations in general, because, like, let me talk for a second, right? Black men have no privilege. Black men have no protection. Black men have the highest risk with and without women in our lives. Okay. We can talk about all the type of violence statistics and all that other stuff, right? But what I like to talk about is what happens when you get in trouble. Who's there to get you out? And in most cases, most women can't help the men that they want, but they expect help from the men that they want to be with, right? So when you start looking at the risk versus reward, which black men are actually doing nowadays, it's like, you know what, man, she got a bad attitude. She don't know how to have no conflict resolution skills. Everything's an argument. She can't shut up. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, like, I already deal with that. Every man already deals with that outside of the relationship. You know what I'm saying? Every man already has that conflict. And what I mean is that when, as a black man, you have to accept that you don't have any help. You have to function in the world and understand that the only privilege that you do have is the privilege that you create. And you got to create it with honest effort. It has to be built on a solid foundation. It has to be cultivated the right way. Because if it's built on some bullshit, it's gonna get you locked up. If it don't take nothing but a false allegation to get you locked up, it don't take nothing but a negative social media post circulated, you know what I'm saying, to get you locked up or get you canceled or something like that. Yeah. Because you don't have no protection. And that's one of the things that I was talking about when I brought up Shannon Sharpe as an example. You see how quickly it went left for him? Yeah. People, and he did something that he paid for. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, literally. But the thing is, that's how fragile a black man's image is. If he dabbles in something that's deemed to be unsavory, they don't like to see black men have fun, bro. So, like, you got to have NDAs and everything else, because that's how easy it is to derail a black man's career. You remember the guy, what's his name that was playing Kane? I can't think.
I was just about to think about him.
Jonathan Majors, right? Majors. After all of that hoopla with the girlfriend he had before, regardless if she was a white woman or not, that's all it took was hoopla to get him canceled, because he was a bad look, bad for business. You know what I'm saying? Because these people have show clauses built into contracts with them. And the minute that you reflect poorly on the contract itself and you misrepresent the organization, they get you up out of there. Case in point, the thing with Shannon Sharpe. When you work for ESPN, you are a Disney employee, okay? And he had what Shannon Sharpe had in a contract with Disney was the equivalent of Floyd Mayweather's contract with Showtime.
Yep.
And he blew it. He was the center point that they got to come see him, because they want his image, his personality, his content, not going through somebody else's tweaks and creativity expression where they liked him as he is. Disney's a huge company. Disney goes out and consults other companies to help them do better customer service. And you got a direct connect with that. And all you had to do was keep your sexual conversations offline. All you had to do was not put your meat in the wrong cheeks. All you had to do was not be a negative representation, because the more visibility you get, the more risk you get. So a man is now black men have checked out of being with high risk women that do not add protection to his image. Now, the ones that can't respect it, they get dealt with too, because your behavior is eventually going to tell on you. No matter how you slice it, if you had a drug problem before you got money, you're going to have an enhanced drug problem with it. If you will go check the check, but keep some fresh cheeks, you are going to have a problem when you have more money and more visibility.
Agreed.
And what it makes me think of is that what type of handlers were in place when Shannon Sharpe was playing ball? Because I'd never heard about him getting in trouble when I watched him play ball.
He never did. I wasn't like that. Yeah.
And the thing is, this ain't new behavior. This is stuff that he's been comfortable doing, you know? And so using him as an example is not the shame. It's so it can be a teachable example, because people don't believe things can happen to you until it happens, you know? And we don't have to go experience directly what they went through to see that it happens. It happened to what's up, Robert Kraft. Remember when he got caught in a massage parlor?
Yeah.
Because he a billionaire and he still get. If it's happening to white men, why you think they ain't gonna catch your black ass?
I'm not even gonna bring up race. That had nothing to do with what we're talking about, and it's so obvious.
So I think with Shannon Sharpe is the second career in broadcasting is completely opposite from his football career, because they wear this helmet all the time.
Yeah.
And my buddy explained it to me. He says it's football helmet syndrome. When they get to the club, they buy out the baller because don't nobody know who you are, because you always got on the football helmet, right? Only the true fans are gonna know that the host could be casual. You could go in there and just be a big swole dude, and they think that you're in the NFL if the NFL players are in the building. So they got to do something to show. So and with Shannon Sharpe saying, "Oh, well, I'm coming out here," I think he was going after the young chicks because when he was young, he won't even like that for him. He probably had to spend way too much out of the little bit he was making to even convince a chick to do some stuff like that. And now, attention is currency. You just took it too far.
It's a second childhood. It's a fetish for a second childhood. Let's bring Will into the conversation, man. What's going on, brother? You got to unmute.
What's going on, man?
What's
I
up,
was
bro?
having trouble getting in there.
I saw you, hey, man. I was like, oh, okay. He just going back and forth with it. What's going on, man? What you want to contribute to the conversation, man? I know you've been listening, and Jessica's always active, man. So,
Oh, that's the husband?
Yeah, that's the husband.
Yeah, that's the husband, man.
Was I wrong?
No, you kind of.
Oh, right there. Don't do it. Right there. You knew I was right. Just say it.
You were. Wait. Hey, hold on, man. You was right on the. You was right on a few points. So I did not have my shit together at that time. But I once had my shit together, and I let a woman take me off my game. But I saw potential in my wife, and I saw that she just needed, a little bit of guidance.
Yeah, I got Antoine muted just so you. Oh, hold on, go ahead, Antoine.
Let me ask you, Will, man to man. Do you think a man that's got his shit together would have dealt with your wife?
I don't think, to be honest with you, I think you're right. No, they wouldn't have.
Thank you. That's
you're I'm gonna keep it real. They wouldn't have.
Thank you. If you weren't gonna keep it up 100, I would not be having this conversation with you. I'm glad you said that. Now you can talk. Now we can have an honest conversation.
No, they definitely wouldn't have. But I was in a different place then, and I didn't exactly know what a good woman looked like. I just thought I saw it in my life, and the conversation we had just led me to believe that was the way to go. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think I got lucky. I think we both got lucky in a way, because we both found basically our match, our the person that would lead us to being better people.
That's honest right there. I mean, that's realistic based on, you know what I'm saying, the way you come into the world, the way that you're raised, the experiences that you have. You make realistic decisions off of the environment that you got to work with. You know,
I had bad choices, man. And I can admit that. But one thing I had learned at that point was that there are red flags everywhere. Whenever you're having those bad choices, is where you are, though, determines if you're set up to pick up on those red flags. So everything, all the bad relationships I had previously, there were signs everywhere, but I just wasn't listening to them. But to be honest with you, in this relationship, and I made it clear to Jessica, my antenna's up, and as soon as I see a red flag, it's a wrap. I'm out of there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fair to say. So it's fair to say you elevated yourself.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
it's fair to say that.
And that's what I was telling Vic. I think all men need to be honest with themselves and elevate themselves, because now that you're at this level, heaven forbid anything happen with you and Jessica, I guarantee you are not taking a chance on a woman that stabbed somebody. You will not do that again.
Oh, no.
Okay,
oh no.
That's what I'm talking. So you elevated yourself to a level where now the women are at this tier, and you're like, I ain't even dealing with that. I'm here. It's gonna work. I'm not saying anything against Jessica, because it's gonna work out. She's great. She loves you and all this. I'm just saying, heaven forbid you would not look at that. Now you can recognize it from a distance, that you don't need to put yourself in that situation.
Right.
Yeah. And you're able to pull her out of that situation if she's around one.
Which goes back to what I was saying before. As you get older, there's less room for error. You have less, and the only thing that determines your security is your behavior. Because the older you get, you got to take more accountability for your choices that you make, your behavior, your associations, and you can't make excuses that you wouldn't allow your children to make if you got them. And you can't tap dance around certain conversations if you wouldn't allow your children to tap dance around them. We have to be more direct the older we get and the more information we get. Matter of fact, information does not pardon you from ignorance. It's the absence of it. You know what I'm saying? So, like, for us to sit back and try to pretend like we would do everything the same way that we did it before is asinine. That's fairy tale stuff. If you could make a tweak here and a tweak there and still get the same or get a better outcome, why wouldn't you do it? You know, because if you know better, you should do better, right?
Exactly. What did I tell you, Vic? So I would not recommend somebody taking my route. I would have been married by now if I could go back, because I would have tweaked it differently. I would have said, you know what? Lift your head up and smell the roses. Recognize a good woman. Don't be selfish with your money. I would have done all that shit, right? Not be married right now. Probably have a kid or so. Yeah. But that's why I say I wouldn't. I would still want to up my game, but I still recommend men to recognize something good so you can bring it along with you.
What I think needs to be recognized too is that some of the women don't know where to be to find a good man. And to be honest with you, I wasn't in a place for my wife to find a good man, but we both kind of like ran into the same bad situation and ended up finding each other. So that's part of the problem, because had I known what I know now, I would have definitely not been where I was to find my wife. But then where would I?
Will, I got to give you credit. Like I said, you're a responsible man, and you knew you were at a at a different level mindset to recognize where you were. That's all. If the people that Vix talks to are the ones that don't recognize what you recognize at the time where you were at. And I'm saying
I listened to it from afar, and you're 100% correct.
Okay, so that's the mindset I was telling Vic. That's the mindset it would take for us to elevate the community that are at that level where they don't recognize it and they don't want to change. Why would you want to reach that? You recognize it and know you deserve better and will get better and do better. And then you were so good at such a level, you recognize, okay, you know what? I can see some goodness in this woman. I just need to bring her up with me. And boom. Okay.
I think we might need to find a different way to have this conversation, or a different way to pull people in on having this conversation. Because to be honest with you, I wouldn't be here having this conversation if I didn't overhear the conversation my wife has. So I'm kind of confused on how you guys can bring in people who are actually in line in a way to where they want to be accountable. Because the way social media is set up, it's not really wired to where a man that wants to be accountable is even in this space.
Not at all. Yeah, it's what it is. It's like I believe is there's gonna always be a group of people that's on one side and a group of people that's on another, right? And I think the people that are on the discipline side of thinking, which they may not necessarily have an answer for something, they're looking at it like, why are they doing certain things, right? It's just mixing, they're missing some definitions and they're conflating some words, you know. I think when you want to establish better vetting criteria about who you give your energy to, I think you first have to already decide that you want to do better, you know. And I think a lot of people on social media looking for answers from people that can articulate themselves the right way. Now, what happens in the middle of that, you're going to get a lot of prosperity preachers, you know what I'm saying? And you're going to get people that's got a very articulate level of bullshit that they say, and they can't back up none of it, you know. And those people come and go, but eventually the truth is gonna stick, and the outcomes are gonna reflect. And if you are focused on doing something positive, eventually those positive people start connecting with one another. And in fact, that's what this panel actually represents. Everybody up here is working on something that's progressive.
Is it fair to say?
I think. Oh, go ahead.
What Will is saying. What Will is saying. Okay, he just nailed something right there when he said,
okay,
how do you reach the people at that mindset to make more conversations like that? See, that's right there. You know, he's an elevated mindset right there for him to acknowledge that, right? I'm saying the way the economy is today, who's in command and who's not in command, the way it is today, and the tariffs and what's coming in, there's going to be the have and have nots. The middle ground, done. You could take it over there, but you will never be over here, and you're the one that's going to pass out. We good. We're not going to waste our time like that. You know, they're bringing the Olympics to LA. And the main question is now in LA, what do you do with all the homeless? What do you do with all the trash? What do you do with Skid Row, right? They're actually thinking, how do we ship these people out? Because everybody around the world is coming to LA for the Olympics. 2 weeks of tourists wanting to see downtown, which is horrible, wanting to actually see what Skid Row looks like, which is your own risk going there, right? And after 5 o'clock, when the sun goes down, it's their city. That's a fact. I'm a man, and I wouldn't risk my life down there. So eventually, the economy and society is what's going to determine where they go. They don't have to worry about that. Now, they're either going to be on the side that's going or the side that wants to elevate themselves to do better and stay over here. So I don't believe in any change could come about. I believe it's going to happen anyways. I really believe that because it's already happening with taxes. It's already happening
in DC. They already wiped out a whole bunch of people and took them somewhere else too.
You got. Come on, Vic. When did you ever hear about the National Guard coming in to bring order to a city? Right.
And you know what's crazy about that, man? I got a couple videos where, like, to capture what you're saying. Let me pull this up real quick.
The only
stirred by this video.
Black people in DC, get your and take care of them police officers like they should have been taken care of 50 years ago.
See, she's the type of person that you don't want in your circle. She is what we refer to as ghetto fatigue, but you love your community so much that you're trying to set them up for failure. Y'all go ahead and listen to that psycho if you want to. I'm still shocked at the fact that she had balls to get on the internet and tell people to do something that she wouldn't even do. She doesn't even realize that she's a part of the problem. You're just giving them more of a reason to go out there and enforce law and order. But seriously, did she really believe that the community would listen to her and sabotage their whole future because she's in her feelings? Yeah, she's definitely the problem to the solution. You know, the type to fight fire with fire and then act super shocked when you get burned. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm still shocked that she fixed her lips to say that. I'm come on now. But I'm gonna leave it at that because I know no one is crazy enough to follow her advice, not even herself.
Which one? Who's this?
That was a lady that was a DC resident.
Okay.
That was telling her followers on TikTok to go out here and commit acts of violence against the police.
Wow.
You gotta be on a certain algorithm to catch stuff like this. I never.
Your average
My
DC
algorithm looks so much different than any of that. I never see things like that on my algorithm.
I would will on this one.
Hey, and this is the thing. See, I'm in the trenches bringing these type of conversations up to show y'all, like when we talking about who the problem is, and when we talk about certain behavior. But do you know how wild that is to get on? That is a felony to incite violence against the police. And
the statement in itself, the act in itself, recording it that's an issue.
It's self-snitching. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you know how unhinged that? Like, you wouldn't even say that. Well, people like that probably would. You know what I'm saying? But that is not the population that can be helped. Okay, that's what I'm talking about right there.
That's where I'm moving away from.
I think the answer to what was being asked earlier is, and Vic, this is still on you because it's your platform, and Will was asking, like, how do you reach the people that aren't on that mindset? I think it's fair and simple to explain and understand that every man should be on some path of betterment, however it is. And accountable masculinity should be attractive enough and simplistic enough to understand that you're not going to do anything that you're looking to do if you don't discipline yourself. Like, I can go, excuse me, I can go through all the rules and give you 2 stories per rule just off of my own anecdotal experience, which is, again, how I present myself, and then that's how you attract certain people. I've added people inside of the group for various reasons, and some of them are seriously watching, right? It's like they tell you in church, you're trying to reach out and grab one person. So if you get one person to really, switch their thinking and move forward with, thinking and being accountable, like, you got to put it out there a lot, and maybe, like, just again, like a slogan or a short summary that just puts it out there. Like, everybody should be on this, because they should be.
But Kimani, Can I ask you, why would you want to reach those people? I'm just curious. Just humor me for a second. Tell me why. Like, why would you care? Why do you care?
Bro, so, again, all right. So if you're going to separate good from bad and you're just going to chop the bad, I understand that, right? And I'll say it again.
Why you would want to help them? Like, why?
I'm answering your question.
Okay.
So I understand chopping off the bad. I understand the bad, right? I come from the bad. I don't browbeat the bad. So, like, when you say chop off and excommunicate the bad, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to do that. One of Vic's points about culture is, hey, influence is different from culture. Well, that part of our culture has major influence on it. So it's not that you're participating with it. You can look at it and you can pinpoint it and you can say that that's bad. You can look inside of that bad crowd and see somebody in their eyes, like, this person is not that bad stuff. And it should be very simplistic, and we should be attractive enough. This is just me repeating what I said earlier. We should be attractive enough to somebody who can come out of that crowd and come towards us. It's not about targeting the group. It's about being, visible to any and everybody for people to come my ways. I talked to Vic before, even on the social media stuff. Hey, man, like, there's small social media platforms out there. Like, just jump on the platform and blast your stuff from right there. Because, who are you targeting? You're putting yourself out there. I'm not targeting anybody. I put myself out there. I go live. StreamYard is there. So it gives people the opportunity to enhance their experience. You can't just, in my opinion, you can't just excommunicate.
So you have empathy towards those kind of people, right?
Yeah, I have empathy enough for myself to put myself out there.
So let me ask you this. So you have empathy towards them, right? Let me ask you this. So you have empathy towards them that you would put yourself in the line of fire to be dragged into that shit, right? That's your empathy? Or do you think they should walk out and come and find you?
No, so I'm just talking strictly from a social media standpoint. You're putting yourself out there. You're presenting yourself. It doesn't matter to me who ends up taking in content. Now, if you're referring to me living in the hood and living where I live,
I'm sticking only to social media because I don't know.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I don't know.
There's no bullets on social media, so like that to me, that's taking it too far. Would you present yourself to somebody? Yes, I would.
Okay, so you have empathy towards them being where they are in the situation they are and all this sort of shit, right? You have empathy towards that, correct?
I can take a scenario and be empathetic towards it, yes.
Okay, but would you put yourself in the line of fire to bring change about?
Man, you're not gonna save the whales and you're not gonna save niggas overall. So, people are blessed. So if you're gonna separate the good and bad and say, okay, we're on the good side and the bad side ought to be blessed. This is the point that you were making about the young lady. Like, you're blessed to have a husband to be able to reach out and I get it. Like, I'm a coach and the kids are blessed to have a coach who comes pro bono to even fucking talk to you. Like, I get all that stuff, but I'm not gonna browbeat about that, right? I'm not gonna browbeat. I'm not gonna be browbeaten, right? So it's just accountable masculinity should be attractive enough to encourage somebody to enhance their experience, because we understand, like Vic is saying, nobody's gonna come to save you, right? And if nobody's going to come to save those people, I'm not going to beat them with a stick and push them back into the water. I'm not going to excommunicate and drown folks in such a way.
No. Nobody's saying about excommunicating them and drown them. I'm saying that Vic's message is a very positive message, right? I can't control what others do. So the Vic message is positive. Will even spoke on the positivity. Will was able to say, hey, you know what? I'm a better man than this, and bring himself out of it and find love and marriage, which is all what I think every man should want to do, right? But I don't agree. The only way I'm disagreeing is if you can't see it for yourself to bring change about, I am not getting on that ship because I'm the captain of the ship. I ain't going down with it because you decide to stay behind. I'm not going down with it, right?
Anybody who decides to join accountable masculinity is understood of that, and I don't think the people that you bring on are going to be missing that point, because honestly, the point's not being brought up a lot, so you got to sit back and be able to listen and take in the point. Like, I went live for a long time, and one of my taglines was, I talk to and reference Black people. This is Afrofuturism, the thought, belief, and fantasy that Black people will be able to get this shit together, right? Like, I said that a whole lot in over 200 videos, right? Like, what I'm saying to Vic is, hey, you've got with accountable masculinity, put it out there, and you're gonna attract, once you put yourself out there, the people who get that and snap into it, and then they go for the long drift. So I don't. And to your point, Antoine, I don't focus on the bad people. I focus on presenting myself, and if bad people show up, I have no problem blocking people. If bad people show up, or if there's a notion that I don't agree with, I don't have a problem arguing my point, right? But I'm not gonna go into any kind of digital fisticuffs, right? I didn't even, come on live to even, hey, you said this point, so let's argue that. And I just, I'm very non-argumentative about what I got going on, because I just present myself. I've told people that I know in person that I personally feel like you should give me $50 for me to even talk to you, right? And I think on a very individual base, like, that's what you're getting at, but essentially that could be wrong if you're presenting yourself, right? If you're presenting yourself, some people got paywalls, some people put up cash apps. I don't have a paywall or anything like that. I've got, like, you see my last name, my father's African. I've never been to Africa, and a guy contacted me online. He said, Kimani, help me. And I'm like, I'm in America, I'm broke. Like, what is you talking about? Oh, I'm a chef. And okay, you're a chef. I got plenty of chefs online. What you want me to do? Link you up with them? Oh, I'm in Kenya. I was like, look, man, go get on the cruise ship. Do you know my tribesman has been all over the world? Right? And if he saw my name and said, Kimani, help me, and I said, oh, well, I'm FBA, bro. go sail on a boat. No, like I had a conversation with them. I gave them my logic behind it, and I pushed them forward. Right. So like I don't, people aren't disposable in my thought pattern.
Okay. All right.
So I listen to these conversations, from afar a lot, and what I do notice is that when there's a lot of men on here, obviously not being accountable, there's no one really actually holding them accountable for some of the statements that they're making. And I think your audience would probably change a little bit if you started to do that. So it may or may not be, where you want to go, because you might end up running away some of the guys that are coming onto this into these conversations. But I would also argue that prior to today, I would have never jumped on one of these conversations, just because I hear so many unaccountable men on here that I'm in a way disgusted that some men are still thinking the way these men think.
Yeah, right.
It's ridiculous in a lot of cases.
Yeah. And Will, I agree with you on that. Like I was telling Vic, right? I told Vic, he had this guest on. She was a woman, and she was swearing like a sailor. She talked like a straight up dude. And I'm like, I would have checked her and said, listen, present yourself properly. This is not the type of conversation that I want to have with a woman, because there's other black women listening to this thinking you talking to me like this is okay. And I want you to know, you got to articulate yourself just a little bit better to clean it up, because you're a woman at the end of the day, and I got to respect you as that. That's why I told Vic, like, I learned my lesson going on other channels that I'm not welcome, right? And I get why I'm not welcome, because I am the guy that's not welcome, because I don't blend in or fit in, right? So I was telling Vic, accountable masculinity is here. You come on with that ratchet talk and swearing, I can't bring my product down to you, my brand down to that. I don't even want to try to elevate you, because the people that are listening to me get my message and come on and choose their words wisely. Like when you came on and I spoke and you took accountability for what you said, I was like, all right, now we can have a conversation. Those are the people that I think every man should extend the olive branch to and bring them in. That's why his message for me, accountable masculinity, I hold it up here. And when I even hear somebody down here trying to elevate up, I'm like, dude, come on, man. No one, just come on.
Well, so as my boss told me plenty of times, empty carts make a lot of noise. Those who don't really know where they're going tend to talk a lot. And those are going to be the ones chiming in the most. And I'm sure you see in your comments a lot of guys that are just not saying nothing, because and mostly they're just sitting in awe at what they're witnessing. I mean, it takes you gotta like, people have to actually say things that make sense before a man that has his shit together, so to speak, would chime in.
Yeah, and like I'll say this. That's the reason why I have different shows to show the diversity in the conversation, because some people gonna be in the comments and they need a voice. You know what I'm saying? Until it doesn't make sense. Now, I'm mindful of what I want to discuss, when I bring up certain topics. But what I believe is this right here, and hear me out. The main problem amongst men is usually amongst the men that have been raised by women. And I don't think that those men are leading the right conversation. So I just created a space for those particular men to air out their grievances, because people have to vent in order to get to the point where they can actually talk about a solution. A lot of these guys, they have not had an opportunity to speak uninterrupted, air out their grievances, and actually have a problem-solving conversation that leads to them making a better course of action for themselves. So when it looks one way, but the intent is another thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand why it would look strange to everybody else that you guys are older, A lot of these guys, they're younger and they don't know how to articulate themselves. They've never been given a voice. You know what I'm saying? They've never been given a platform. And then their peers are the same age or younger. So they only going to be able to speak the language that their audience can understand.
So you don't know this, but I employ like probably about 25 men. Some of them in their 60s, but a mass majority of them are in their 20s and below. And what I do notice is that a lot of them are looking for some sort of mentorship because like you said, they were raised by their mothers predominantly. But that can't be what drives you as a man, because I mean, going through life, you have to notice what's working and what's not. And if you see it right in front of your face, it's not working, then I don't think you can blame it on your mother. I don't know. I don't like that whole.
I don't like it either, and it's not to give them reason to blame. What I'm saying is this, right? There's a big gap amongst men in general that nobody's really seeing. Like I live in the future, bro. Like I come back from the future to talk about what's going on right now. Most people are just now getting what I've been saying for years. You know what I'm saying? So I'm spearheading what I'm doing. You know, I've been in the trenches with trying to figure out which men can we listen to first. Okay. And then you got to go back and say, well, why are these men not getting the message? I get it. Some of them don't want it, right? And then some want to do better, but they don't know how to break away without a lot of chaos involved, right? Because they got so many obligations. There's some people in my comments right now that know exactly what I'm talking about. Shout out to TGH Dre. And when they start looking at why they make the choices they make in the women that they have, the multiple baby mamas, you know what I'm saying, and all that stuff, there's a stark difference in behavior between men that have been raised with and without their fathers. And then they start recognizing this the older that they get, that they were missing something. They start seeing that their children need something different than what they've been able to give them. So, of course, they're going to seek out some mentorship. But what doesn't happen is that the audience that they want to be embraced by doesn't have a different upbringing than them. So they just all trauma bonded with each other. So, for instance, the red pill community is trauma bonded men for the most part. And they're no different than the feminists that they can't stand. So, and all of them are raised from the same tree. They all got single parents as parents, and they became single parents themselves. And very rarely do they break that to get out of that and understand the importance of the opposite sex. You know what I'm saying? They don't even understand how to be the man that their children need in a lot of cases, because what they've been shown has been nothing but a man being used for utility. That's why they focus on a lot of materialistic, utilitarian aspects. Like, I take out the trash, I pay the bills, all of this stuff that everybody has to do no matter what. And they don't realize that they sound just like the independent women that they complain about. So when you start saying, hey man, you got to get out of the beefs with the women, which is why I say rule number 2 is about the men arguing with the women. And the men that argue with women are usually the men that's raised by women. So they don't have a way to break free from it if you don't show them. So, and then the next thing is, you going back to rule number, this is a good time to go through the rules. Rule number 1, men got to focus on themselves. Personal accountability standards amongst reasonable men without degrading women to improve our society. They can't get to that because they spend too much time doing this, arguing with them, okay? And they need to graduate from this behavior. And then, because if you argue with women, guess what you can't do? You can't listen to other men. That's what decentralized leadership is. So until you break these distracting habits, you're not going to be able to get men to say, you know what, this is a better means of me focusing on myself. And if you can't listen to another man, then you're going to shorten up your legacy and your equity in life. You're supposed to be living a life of service towards your community and others. You must be credible and capable of both mentoring and being mentored. You must be receptive and coachable, because it is a privilege to be able to teach. everybody knows a lot of stuff, but not everybody knows how to teach.
But Vic, okay.
Let me finish. And then the most important one, which is the source of a lot of our conflict amongst men, is sexual discipline. If you want to be seen as credible in any way, shape, or form, you got to be able to control your meat. And if you can't do that, that's a big issue when it comes down to trust. You employ a lot of people. How many of those guys have issues with their wives or baby mamas or whatever situation they got going on tied to their kids, and their availability gets compromised? Because if you can't keep your house in order, you definitely not going to be moving along as far as you'd like to go and as fast as you'd like to go. But you can't be focused on the future and overindulging yourself with women. And there's been plenty of text that's been written over and over and over again about the downfall of man being linked to his inability to control his sexual biology. But the red pill community argues on behalf of their biology because it's easier to submit to their erection. A lot of men think with their dicks, and there's plenty of women that think more with their vagina than men think with their dicks. So because there's a supply and demand and there's way more vagina out there than anything, then these men feel like, hey, I'm entitled to it. But what they don't know and what they don't realize is that having sex with the wrong women is witchcraft. And all it does is hold you back.
But Vic, again, that would require a man to put his ego aside, period. And men don't put their ego aside too easily. In order for a man to listen, he has to put his ego aside. That's just the way it is, right? And let me tell you something. Men that have their shit together, there ain't no woman that's a baby mama that he's interested in. He ain't, because he knows what he deserves. Period. He has his shit together. He recognizes trash when he sees trash, and he knows how to keep it in his pants and move on. Now, the ones that are undisciplined, like you speak of, yes, those are the men I'm not interested in talking to, because they serve no purpose, Vic. They serve none. The only thing they serve is the woman next to them. That's it. And women understand. Women that have their shit together don't argue. They don't.
Well,
they don't argue. Vic, wait, they don't. Women that have their shit together are looking for a man that they know they can rely on to do his shit as a man, because they know their role as a woman. And if you're gonna argue with a woman, it's got to be about vacation. It's got to be about what I'm wearing. It's got to be shit that, between men and women. It ain't gonna be about who's leading, who's doing what role I have, what role. Women that got their shit together don't do that. They know that the minute they can be a doctor outside, and the minute they step into the house, they're a wife.
Well,
they know they're a wife. Okay? And if Will is handling 20 men in his job, and he's a manager, I can rest assured Jessica knows when he got home what kind of shit he dealt with out there, that she's gonna play her role as a woman. She ain't gonna try to challenge him on his day, because she already knows he handles 20 men and he's got a busy job and he's providing. If she knows her shit, so she's gonna conduct herself like a proper feminine woman that's got her shit together, and she's gonna make sure he's fed to go to work the next day and do the shit. Those are the women that we should be focusing on. Women cannot raise men.
We know that, but here, and that is the source of the problem, is what I'm identifying. And what I mean is that man's psychological imprint came from his mother.
Right.
So even if he's trying to do better, at some point when he makes a mistake, he's going to make a decision like his mama would have made. So what I'm saying is that
so I'm going to cut you off just briefly. I was raised predominantly by my mother. My father was there, but he wasn't. He worked multiple jobs. I rarely saw him. But my mother made sure that I knew why he wasn't there. And she taught me, my mother, I guess she was kind of masculine with the way she taught me. But she also taught me how to treat women, what to look for in women. But I think some of that caused me to look for women that needed me.
Yeah.
And a lot of the women that I ended up with before were women that needed me, and once they figured out that I was gonna try to fix everything for them, they took advantage of it. So I tell a lot of people that we're kind of a product of babies born in the 80s and 70s and 80s with single mothers, because my mother wasn't single, but she was single, and most guys raised by their mother are taught to treat a woman like a queen.
Thank you.
And most women that are raised by a single mother are taught that niggas ain't shit.
Thank
so
you.
they start to treat us as a lot of women mistreat men that are good to begin with, and we become, if we're not strong enough, we become all those men that they don't like. And I think that's it's kind of a it's a paradox. It just happened that way. But if you're smart enough, you can see that that's what's happening, and you can start to try to address it personally and be that change.
When I started looking through accountable masculinity and the whole mother concept, like y'all probably can't tell, but I walk with a cane. I'm permanently disabled. My spine's been clamped down my whole life because I'm an '80s baby, man. I was sitting in the front seat. My mother was driving, and like I talked to my cousin about this, and he was like, man, you don't even realize, like, when you was a kid and you was riding in the car with her, you was telling her to slow down, and then all of a sudden, screw, you smash into a fire hydrant. This is like one of my very first vivid memories, and just crushing my face, all split up, dent in my head, and then like you get up out there and, like, not to talk bad on my mother, but I understand where you're coming from, Vic, because they just pushed you out there. And I was raised by two of my aunts in tandem. These motherfuckers is you're all over it, and I understand, right? But again, how do you put out your anecdotal experience? Rule number 5, being sexually disciplined. Like I was working a job with a bitch ass nigga that's a part of a fraternity, and they jumped on my case fraternity style. I'm bigger than all that frat shit, Mason shit going back and forth. Like I understand where they be coming from, but like on a very hyper personal base, like my anecdotal experience with these kind of people is like, oh, this is your fucking problem, right? So when you're out here in this world and you dealing with a bitch ass nigga, and then you realize that motherfuckers got problems with their mama, and I got my own personal mama story. I'm telling you, like, I'm a small child, like, hey, slow down, skirt, wham, like, you need to fucking listen to me, girl. So I understand what you're saying, Antoine, but like, in order to deliver this out here, like, I fuck with the rules and the explanations and everything, because it's like it's really, really, really getting to actual solution. And one of the reasons why I've even put myself out there as much as I've done, like, this is, you're talking decades. Like once you're doing something for 10 years, that's the first decade. The 11th year is the start of a second decade. So we're talking about, we've been online for decades, right? Trying to like talk sense into people, like just good regular stuff that our anecdotal stories. If we put them all together, you know what it would really be? Our unified experience, and this is a big part of it.
That's the point right there. The missing piece in accountable masculinity is the men that have been raised by women leading the conversation in a healthy way. That's what I'm talking about. Being honest about the things that you miss, even like Will, even your father was in your life. Some of these guys don't have no male representation. Some of these guys been in. Matter of fact, a bunch of them work for you. I guarantee you, a bunch of them work for you.
That's where I was getting. I mean, but what I do find more effective when I'm dealing with the guys that you can tell, because I can tell almost instantly when they respond in anxiety to almost everything. I'm like, oh, you were raised by your mother or your grandmother, huh? Exactly. No, I was raised by my sister. I can tell, but what I do realize, what I did notice is the best approach to it is to hold them accountable for how they're doing, how they're feeling about certain things immediately. When you can't nerf how you communicate with men, and I don't do it at all. Like when I sense that you're giving some feminine energy, and you're supposed to be reacting masculinely and logically, I address it right then and there. I don't hold my tongue, man. I instantly. Second I see it, because if you're gonna work for me, you need to be a logical thinking person. You need to know how to hold your composure. You need to know how to keep it together, because that's what men do. We operate that way.
Let me give you some other tangible examples that capture exactly what I'm saying, right? When we think about like what's going on right now with Young Thug and everything that's taking place in like in Atlanta rap culture. I don't know if anybody's been up on that, right?
Who's that?
But that whole demographic of people that's involved in that are raised the same way.
He's talking about the very feminine rappers that are in Atlanta.
Atlanta is single mother culture. Like rap music in general is men that didn't have no therapy, getting their grievances out in art. No matter how we like it, how critical we are of it or whatever, but the absence of men is what that culture is centered around, man. And everything that goes back to blaming men for fatherless homes and all this other stuff, that's not, blaming is not leading, okay? We got to be real honest about who's not having the right conversation. Because let me tell you, when you think about all of the bullies that you saw growing up in school and how they used to get down, how were those bullies raised?
Yeah, but do it. Okay.
No, just think about it. I want you to process what I'm saying. Kamani, that's how you already know exactly what I'm talking about. When you think about all of the guys that got the most flack, the hardest life growing up, most of those guys were not raised with their dads, man. And so they've internalized that and carried it with them. And that is the conflict that you see spilling over everywhere else. It's the lack of respect, the conversation where women are talking about men are so violent towards women, right? But they raise the violent men. Your dad don't posture his sons to beat women.
Exactly. When you see those kids acting out, you know there ain't no father at home. You know right off the bat there ain't no father at home. You know this because you would not be talking to your teacher like that if you have a father at home.
Yep. And so like great example, right? Everybody that's going to school with each other are all kids of the same type of tree.
Right.
So all of the kids, the majority of the kids are being raised by women with no men in the house, right? And the men that fathered those kids were already bad decisions to begin with in most cases. They were already bad choices.
Because they're emotional men. Like I got, for example, I have a guy that works for me, and I have to use this because this is really my life. But he's got two baby mamas. First baby mama, everything was going well until she had a baby, and then shortly after that, he wasn't aligned to deal with all the emotions that come behind having a baby. So guess what he did? He put himself somewhere else. He left her instead of manning up and dealing with what comes behind the baby. He went on to another lady, ended up getting her pregnant. Same exact thing happened. Now he's a baby daddy of two babies because he wasn't man enough to deal with what comes after what he did. But the accountability, and that's the crazy thing. We're having this conversation. It's all about accountability, but there's a lack of everywhere I look.
Well,
there's a lack of.
And this is what I'm about to say, Will. That man with those multiple baby mamas, he only makes up 16% of the population. The majority of men don't have children. The majority don't have children. And then the other men that do have children, they're married. So who are we supposed to be blaming right now? Because let me tell you who women can't blame. Women can't blame the men that they're not attracted to and the men that they can't have sex with, okay? They can't blame somebody else's husband unless they was a side chick. And then over 50% of men don't have children at all. So it's only 16% of men that make up the baby father, the baby daddy conversation. So 80%.
I think that's the problem that people feel like there has to be a blame. It's accountability. I mean,
I don't think there should be a blame. Like
hear what I'm saying, Will, and why it's important. So that's the 16% on the man side, right? 80% of the children that are made with those 16% of men are reproduced with 75% of women. So that's a 5-to-1 ratio. So if you're going to solve for the majority, then the women need to have that discussion. The 16% of men that they are reproducing with are also raised by single mothers too. They're not single men that are single fathers are not usually raised in two-parent homes because the numbers don't reflect it. So my point being is that same community that people can't stand is the dating pool. and the dating pool is raised in the same type of family tree. So the only men that can speak on that is the men with that experience. I can't talk about that. I don't have no kids. It's going to sound condescending if I'm telling you that you ain't shit and you can't control this, you can't control that. I sound like the dad that they never had, right? So if the accountability conversation needs to be had and men need to lead it, then it need to be the men that's in the trenches with the shit.
Right.
I think I was.
Okay, go ahead, Will.
I think I was something like that when I met Jessica. I had 2 kids.
Yeah,
I had two kids, 2 baby mamas.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I can relate on that aspect.
Yeah,
but it's like
the one that should be talking to these young kids.
Exactly.
But you see how you're able to elevate yourself? You should be the one actually talking on that shit.
This is what I do. I mean, I make it a point to do this with my younger employees, and some of the guys. I have guys that are older than me that are still going through that same stuff that the young guys are going through. I have this conversation with all of them. I tell them where I came from. About 6-7 months before I met Jessica, I lived in a hotel with a cheating baby mama. I mean, hey, but I have been many places. I'm very skilled, like as far as the workforce goes. I just never had the right woman. Okay.
But Will, I love it's men like you that need to have this conversation and need to be in this conversation, right? And men like you aren't coming on and talking like that because you don't want to spew. Most don't want to spew their business. But the only area I blame the women is they always look to justify the women that do it. They find some way to include the man in the justification of why women do that. And that area there is why change will never come about, because black women do not hold other black women accountable. They have their own anecdotal experience, and the first thing that comes out of their mouth is, it's not my place to tell that woman anything. But they will hold a man accountable for calling out another man for his shit. And that's the disconnect. That right there is the disconnect. That's why I believe change will never come about in the black community, because it's been way too long. If Sarahazad Ali can't do it, Kevin Samuels can't talk on it, right? Kevin Samuels can't. All the women's channels can't talk on it. What makes you think that's going to change? That's why what makes you think that's going to change? That's why I tell men, if she has a hard face on, keep pushing. If she can't smile, keep moving. Leave them to their own demise, because that's where they're headed. They're single as fuck and baby mamas at best. Leave them there. Don't try to change them. You can't save those ones because they don't want to be saved. They're wrong, strong, independent, and boss babes with nothing to count, nothing in their bank account. I agree with that. That's where they should stay. You should not try to change that kind of woman. If anything, you should encourage her to go that so she can end up in her situation. You should encourage her on that side, because then she can take all of them with her. But the men that want to do better and make a difference, I'm all for Vic's message.
I mean, I had to change my name to InternetStepDaddy, because I got to be a step ahead of the dad you never had. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm telling you shit that your daddy's supposed to tell you.
But he didn't, and that's where I think you could possibly reach him. Yeah. Because we gotta kind of be dads, because I feel like I'm the father of like 15 kids, man. I have 5, and I feel like I'm the father of 15 kids. Some of them are older than me. Like but we have to hold each other accountable first.
We're not mentally older. Not mentally older.
No, no, they're not. You're correct, but I mean, again, like I was saying, we got to hold each other accountable. We can't let the people around us not be held accountable for the things that they're doing. They get the result that they're getting, and I will not let you sit up here and tell me how bad your life is if you're not being accountable for the things you've done to lead yourself there.
But Will, again, look how you're speaking. Men are able to do that. But men's not the problem. We can call out another guy and go, bro, you need to get to the gym, man. That beer gut's not gutting you. Hey, I want a fine woman. We're able to tell that guy, what you gonna do with a fine woman when you can't even look in the mirror? You're missing 2 teeth and your hair is not combed. We are able to have that conversation, right? We're able to have, you ain't picking up a dime in a Pinto. We're able to tell men that. Women aren't able to tell women, hey, simply, honestly, you're looking a little busting out of that dress. Maybe you shouldn't look at that guy that's 6 foot, because
they gonna lie to each other. They gonna tell us she's good.
So it's gonna keep
I think any way that you present yourself is what you're gonna attract.
Exactly.
Is absolutely what you're gonna attract. So stand up straight, have the right message, and the right ones are gonna jump on.
It's gonna jump
And
on.
the wrong ones will watch until it finally clicks to them that they need to jump on.
Exactly.
You know, I got this little story that I call it the man in uniform, right? Because we talk about holding men accountable. Let's just say men don't want to listen to anybody that they see online, right? Fuck it. They don't care, whatever. So they can't control their emotions, like Will was talking about. And you notice every example I brought up, Will got a story for it, right? So he knows a person that fits exactly what I'm saying. I've studied this, okay? So the man in uniform theory is like this. One of Will's employees is in uniform. He's acting up at the job. Will sends him off the job. Hey, man, you need to go home. You making it bad for everybody else. Will's employee is in his uniform. He got his shirt on, right? He leaves out driving emotionally, gets pulled over. The cop pulls him over, comes over to his door, does the same spiel, license, insurance. You know why I stopped you, right? Will's employee says he has a choice to make. He can make it a professional conversation out of it and say, you know what, my bad, and might leave with a warning or a ticket with his safety and his freedom. But no, Will's employee is still pissed off. He's still in uniform too. So he says something that gets him those bracelets on. You know what I'm saying? He get locked up. The man in uniform takes the other man in uniform out the car, puts him in the back of the police car. They drive to the police station. Those 2 garage doors come down. The man in uniform takes the guy out the back is still in uniform from work that Will send home. And now he takes him and hands him off to the jail workers, right? Who are in uniform as well. They fingerprint him. And then they tell him to get out of his work uniform and put this orange and white uniform on with these Crocs, or whatever shoes they give him. They strip search him while he's being watched by another man in uniform. And then he put the orange and whites on, or whatever color you want to pick. And guess where he get put at? General population with other men in the same uniform. And guess what he still got to do while he in there? Listen to the other men in the same uniform. So until men respect higher information, okay? We give ourselves up to information. We submit to the laws of the land because we can't effectively protect anybody if we can't accept correction either. So the lack of accountability that men might have in terms of them choosing to opt out of this conversation, participate in it, or ignore to denounce it, it don't matter. Eventually, their behavior is going to put them in contact with a man in uniform that's going to hold them accountable in some level of institution. So in life, as a man, you're going to wear a uniform. It's either going to be the military, the police, the fire department, AutoZone, or whatever else somebody employs you with. And if you don't respect authority, authority will disrespect you, okay? At some point, you will be held accountable by the laws of the land, bro. Like, so you can go through life telling me, I don't fear man, I don't fear nothing but God put man here first for you to listen to him because he's the first step for accountability, okay? So you are being disrespectful to yourself by not respecting other men that's trying to actually help you. So those men that choose and opt to not listen to men because they feel like they can't be told what to do, they will meet their fate. But the men that want to do better will eventually do better by the men that they want to be respected by. You know what I'm saying? And it's just really the way it works. And I'm speaking as a man that was in service, okay? I was in uniform for 12, 13 years. And then I got out and I still had to work alongside military if I wanted to make my money. I had to do what I had to do in order to get out of the situation what I was meant to have. I had to get what I came for. I had to put the small shit to the side and do what made sense for the long run, not for the emotional validation for the moment. And when you think like that, when you think opposite of that, you're undisciplined thinking. ego makes you make bad decisions. Okay. Ego can also help you when you're in a worse type of situation where it's do or die, right? But if you make every situation do or die, you could justify anything. Ain't nobody finna talk to me like that. I'll put hands on it. You going to jail, fam. You can't help nobody if you want to solve all your problems with violence. In fact, you cause more of them nowadays. So when you start thinking about the most violent men, usually going to be the least ruly, had the least amount of sexual control, the least amount of ownership of their situations. They're not raised by men. They're not. They have a more of a psychological imprint from their mother. And those men have to turn the corner to lead a conversation like this, because eventually men that have been raised different from them will not be respected by them. They would just be, they'd be no different than us trying to go tell some people in another country how they're supposed to live in their own country. We don't have the same laws. We don't have the same codes.
But the thing is, there's too many channels that promote the negativity of Black people, right? Too many channels that promote that shit. I know they want the views, likes, and all this sort of stuff, but the thing is, too many channels promote the negativity of us. You know, it's like, my goodness, man. Like, even, you know, you have Hollywood that jumps on board. The light-skinned Black woman is always a quiet, docile, beautiful. The dark black-skinned woman is always a loud, ratchet, hard face, right? And then you have channels on TV that promote, channels on YouTube that promote that shit, that say, look at this clip. Then they show the Carnival Cruise. And it just, we are our own worst enemy, and we are the one feeding into this shit. And then what do? We pull the race card. Well, it's the white people that's making us do it. Well, it's the white people that own the broadcast. Well, always everything else but what's in the mirror, right? That's why I say to you, I already choose to not be that way, because you guys ain't paying my bills. They are, right? So I don't have a problem not trying to save you. Really don't care. Knock yourself out. Good. What am I? The Oreo? Love it. Let me stay over here and make my money. Great. That means I don't have you as a friend. Even better. That means I only like dating white women. Even better, because you don't know me. But if you tell me the Black women I date, you would call them a pick-me, and you would say they're trying to act white because they're articulate, they speak properly, they know how to dress, they know when a dress doesn't look good on them, they know when a dress does look good on them, they actually know what a fork is, they actually know what a dinner spoon is. I'm good with that. And they are good with that. And I think in order to change the community the way it is, Black women have to start speaking on what's not appropriate. It's not the men to do it, because they won't listen to the men. Yep. Black women, in order for the community to change, have to speak on Black women's behavior. They have to start calling out the shit to say, hey, that ain't me. That ain't me. The Tyler Perry movies, that ain't me. We smile. Over here, we smile. Over here, we greet men. Over here, we're looking for the better Black men. Not financially, just a better one that's actually got all his teeth. You know?
No, always.
And just to let you know one thing. Women, if they're dressed nice and they're telling you, listen, baby, I'm dressed like this, you ain't going next to me dressed like that. Just listen to her, because she knows what image you're putting out there. And she wants everybody to see the image that matches her, which is her eloquence. We don't know that shit. My father could never do what my mother did. Never. My father was not a nurturer. My father was, son, go and fix that car. Well, son, your mother's car needs gas. Son, I don't care. When your mother said dinner at 6, that's what I was raised with. I wasn't raised with, I wasn't raised with that.
A lot of men been raised with the yeah. That's what I'm saying. A lot of men been raised by women that sound like chihuahuas.
And that's why the women have to call out the other women to say, hey, you shouldn't let your son conduct themselves like that.
Well, hold up, Antoine. See, that's the conundrum.
Shit.
Hold up. Here's the conundrum. Women have been raised by the same hyenas.
I agree.
So
yeah, that's exactly what I was saying.
And they fight their own daughters.
Right. So those are the women. That's why I'm trying to tell you. Those are the women that men should not breed with. Leave it to the 16%, man. It's okay. We have a lot more men that are responsible. Leave it to them. Let them do the whole rabbit thing. Good, great. Just corner yourself over here. Just don't group me in with that. That's all I'm saying. Because the responsible men, if a woman has a kid out of wedlock and she's responsible and she's got her shit together, she's gonna know she needs a man. She's gonna know she needs to attract the right man to raise her son or daughter. She's gonna need to look for that. If she refuses to look for that, that's the strong babe, independent bullshit men should avoid. Because your son doesn't owe me respect because I'm not his father. It's your job to tell him to give me respect. That's it. Because he's never gonna listen to me, and rightfully so. He doesn't need to listen to me. He's got a father. Now you're asking me to come into that world. If you're asking me to come into that world as an independent boss babe, my job is to keep my son in check, that he has to respect that man. That's why I say, men, don't move into your wife or your girlfriend's house. She has to move into your apartment, because when she acts up, you can kick her out. I'm telling men like that. You gotta hold your ground as a man. You gotta lead your own apartment. You're coming into my house. That's my door.
I always tell guys I wouldn't move into in with a woman if I couldn't afford her rent by myself. Like I don't.
A woman should know. A woman should know you don't want to move in with her. If a man's moving into your house, that should tell the woman this is a low life. This is a loser. If the man is willing to move in with you, he's a loser. A woman should go, and I'm spreading it for you.
Yep.
He just gave you the biggest loser.
That's those red flags I've been telling you about. Them red flags, they everywhere.
Come on.
I think a lot of this stuff is wide open game when approaching people socially, because honestly, there's the potential for good dating scenarios, right? So, when we see that 16%, we know that they're down there. We know, again, I agree, Antoine, we should ignore it and go that way, right? There's guys in plenty of scenarios. I'm a guy that's in a scenario where I've been with my wife since forever. So, like, a lot of times I'm just the outside looking in, and, you can help somebody from the outside looking in. I mean, in this world, it's pimps up, hoes down, and you got somebody like Antoine who's hard on them all. But, if you got to be hard on them, you got to be hard on them. I go out into this world and, I'll present myself with my wife and my children. And a lot of those hood chicks, they like me and they know, like, oh, I wish I could have this baby, but bitch, you can't, because I'm standing up straight and this is how I am. Right. But, as you present yourself, you're gonna attract people that know what's up. My buddy went out on a first date, and it's crazy because what the women say, I had to check my wife about this. I was like, yeah, fat man got him a little 26-year-old. 26? I said, you're old ass, better stop hating. You damn right. I said 26. Now what he need to do is check and see where her head is at. And it's like, it's from the outside looking in, I'm there play by play with my guy, like, just make sure of this, make sure of that, because, the guys will let you know. My buddies let me know, like, oh, I'm envious of what you got. Yeah, but you're not going to rewind 20 years and get to know somebody over a certain amount of time. My buddy got married, 5 years ago, and he got married to somebody who he met 2 years prior. Hey, one thing that doesn't solve stuff is time. Like, while you're married, you're gonna get to know this person, and then you're gonna roll forward. So there's stages to it all, and I think that as accountability, masculinity presents itself, you're gonna attract people from so many different walks of life that recognize the chaos, right? But they're not about the chaos. And because you're not about the chaos, it's like, man, it's smooth sailing over here. Who can I talk to? I could talk to this guy, I could talk to this guy, I could talk to that guy. Present yourself in such a way. I got to jump off of here, but Vic, you be saying about going live in the group. I might end up going live in the group at some point. I got some work to do on the computer. Might get up and just tell a quick story, and people jump on and they start to roll with what you got. No matter opinion. I think as long as you keep it about accountability, accountable masculinity, and not pouring it or steering it towards any other ideology, like that's how I believe personally. That's how you fight pseudos, right? Like, I don't like fighting pseudos online. I'm not going back and forth with pretendians and people like that.
That's why I wrote the book, to solidify it. You know what I'm saying?
Because right.
It's internet pseudo, because it can change. People can change a logo, they can replace something, but when you publish it, and you put your name on, I put my stamp on
I'm with that.
Saying
I'm with that.
I got a badge and all of that stuff, you know.
But Vic, in order for
I gotta go. Hey, I appreciate you having me, Vic. I'm gonna see y'all.
We'll see you. Appreciate you, Kamani.
All right, man.
But Vic, this is what I'm saying. If a woman's gonna vet a man, if he's not paying rent, if he's not saving for a car or has a car, if he doesn't have savings, right? If he can't afford the first dinner, if he's asking you out and he's telling you to go if you see any of that, why are you entertaining him? Like what is he there for? Okay, he's tall, 6 foot, got a big dick, maybe. I get that. You want to get tapped? Cool. But why would a woman, and where she is in life, if she knows she's got all A, B, and C and her ducks in order, why would man has to have this in order for him to even if she ugly? The man has to have this in order for her
she don't know what to look for, man. I mean, most women are looking for what their mother look for. If you look at it, most of these women out here are dating the same man their mother dated. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, that's exactly what they look for. That's why I strive to be who I am for my daughters, because I know that that's what they're gonna look for in a man. I mean, it's.
Hey,
girls, young girls look for their dad. They look for the father figure in a man. If their mother can't hold a man and got bad man decisions, they will. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Let me say something else to that too, because Antoine, you asked the question why. Let me give you a few reasons.
Please.
Will already nailed the coffin on the representation. You know what I'm saying? The women choose the men based on the type of men that their mothers was attracted to. The other part is a lot of these women, they only know how to control men because their moms used to control men in some kind of way. They used to squeeze money out of multiple men all the time, so they think that they have it. Then they got other single women in the family that's like that. That's why these households full of women produce the type of women that you are sitting up and saying, why would you want that? Because the type of men that come out of those households are the type of men that they go after too. And another thing is too, this is such a phenomenon that it is a TV show called Love After Lockup that captures all of this behavior from top to bottom. Like, understand something, they monetize women's poor mating choices.
But doesn't that put us in such a negative light, dude?
It could.
I mean, it's all the shows on TV are such negative lights for African Americans.
That's what we like to see. Everybody wants to see something that looks familiar.
If we're not robbing or stealing or fighting or got some baby mama trouble, we don't make good movies.
All of this behavior comes off the sexually undisciplined tree. It comes off single parent tree. If you see you got to think about it, right? It is really weird for a household to have a bunch of women and no men. That's a horror film. That's really a horror film. Nobody's ever seen a house with no men and really
that was my household, my man. My father had 5 sisters. My grandmother passed away when she was 47. My father was the oldest of all of them. He raised all his sisters, 2 sets of twin girls. And I lived in a household with all of them, plus my mom. My pops was almost never around. So I kind of, for a while, I blamed that on my bad woman decisions, because I had like a soft spot for women and women with issues. So I tended to kind of gravitate toward women that kind of looked like they had potential, just wasn't being guided the right way. So I ended up in some bad situations because the world is different. It's predators in the world, man. And if they see your weakness, they gonna prey on you. And it happened to me for the first 20 years of my life. It was ridiculous, but I've lived that, man. I've lived that.
But Will, that's what I was telling Vic, man. I would like to see accountability only for telling men how to become a better version of themselves. And only that. It wouldn't be entertaining that other shit. It would be, men, you gotta have this. You gotta want better for yourself. You gotta look at the stock market. You gotta do this. You gotta dress appropriately. Even if you don't have money, you gotta have at least a clean t-shirt on.
That's not what they That's not what they want to hear, man. That's a hard thing. That's why I said we got to find a way, because we got to find a way to reel them in, because people don't want to hear how they can do better. They're gonna hear the excuses that other men are giving in these conversations, and they're gonna jump in because they feel like they're part of that. They feel at home with it.
Will, if the men
you see this conversation, I don't know how much is going on in this conversation as far as responses in this conversation, but I bet you it's bare minimum, because we're speaking too logically. We're not gonna have that type of. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
If we have the 16% that's doing all this with the women, the 16%. If we have the why is it generally the other percentage not interacting? Because they don't deal with this shit.
Well, the other percentage is broken down like this though. Most men that don't have children will not be in a conversation like this.
Exactly.
So,
no, they would. They're just in intellectual conversations. They're not in this.
Well, yeah. What I'm talking about is the men that need to hear this. That's not game for it. Most of them have been raised by women, and it's a lot of these guys that don't have kids, so they don't have no equity in the conversation. They just sit back saying, "I don't like women. I don't want to date them no more." You know what I'm saying? Because men are checking out. That's the other part too. And then the men that are married, that's taking care of business, they're not really getting online, you know what I'm saying, to involve themselves in the conversation like that. You know, the men that need this are Will got 20 of them. He got 20 of them that he can go top to bottom, and I guarantee 80% of the guys raised the same way. It's a couple different exceptions. They got all similar problem sets, but very unique to each one of those individual men. They haven't had no discussions, no professional therapy or nothing like that. Most of them been getting their hands dirty all their life, you know what I'm saying, and being utilities, you know what I'm saying, to the families that raised them. They fix every auntie's door. They cut everybody's grass. They paint everybody's house. They've been treated like field hands by the women that raised them.
They ain't done nothing for themselves.
Ain't done nothing for themselves.
Okay, so let me ask you guys this. Let me ask you guys this question, right? And I'm going to ask Will. I'm going to ask Vic afterwards. Will, how many? What's the percentage that you would think that there's channels on women like what the men make and all the other ones out there that women make, holding women accountable? How many? What's the percentage you think that is? If I had to say out of 100, what's the percentage of channels that you think there's out there for women?
Probably 10, maybe.
Wow. Okay.
Maybe.
Well, maybe. And Vic, what about you? You interact with some of them?
5%.
Okay, so let's go in the middle. Let's go in the middle 8. Let's say, right?
Let me tell you why I say 5%. Because I've been doing content for a long time, and 97% of my audience is men. And the other channels that I've come across is only like maybe 5 or 6 content creators that are women that is consistently booming and that's interacting across multiple platforms where most men are dominating. There's the Crimson Cure, the Jada Bell podcast. I can name them.
Right.
Six Goddess, and it's probably a couple more, but it's like 5%.
Okay, so then if the men create more channels like this to help the men, because that's where it has to be focused, right? What makes you think you can bring change about if there's only 5% or 8% of channels for women telling them how to be better women?
I think that number has to have grown. I'm just guessing. I'm just guessing that 5% has. I'm pretty sure it was close to. I'm pretty sure it was close to 0% of women. But I have noticed that there's a lot more women thinking more logically, being more accountable. I've seen that, like in my algorithm. Okay. It may be just because that's the way the way I'm geared. But I have seen an increase in women that are thinking more logically, that are having the conversations with other women, that are holding other women accountable. I've seen some. It's very slow. But I have seen. I've seen some increase in that.
Okay.
I'm not saying that it's not, but I'll tell you, most of it is coming from the fact that a lot of these women are tired of being bullied by other women. And like Case in point, I saw a trend on TikTok where women said we're gatekeeping our marriages now. We're not talking about any of our marriage stuff anymore because when we do, the other women that are single, they just get in the comments and say he cheating anyway. They bring all this negative energy to the conversation. Like, yeah, pick me this and pick me that. You know what I'm saying? So, and what I think men underestimate is women's ability to bully other women into submission. Because the reason why a lot of women argue with men because there's a lack of consequence with it. Most men ain't fixing to just get offline and go pull up and beat some chick up at her own house. But when women start talking about pulling up on each other, they'll do it. They'll fight with their kids in the arms. You know what I'm saying? They run each other over with cars. They carry around bear mace. And if you take men out of all women's problems, women got major problems with each other, and they have royal rumbles. And you ever seen women break up a fight?
They don't.
That's the point. That's why women don't want no smoke with each other. So women say, hey, you know what? I'm not talking about my marriage no more to these hoes. That's what they say. You know what I'm saying? And then they bully each other on vanity. They bully each other about their kids. They fight over the same man. 5 women got kids with the same man. So it's a lot of unhealthy competition amongst them. So they secretly
women don't like seeing each other happy. They don't. It's obvious. They don't like seeing each other happy. As soon as they see it, they cut it down.
Well, the detriment to a black woman is being married.
I'm not done. I gotta give you.
She's married, man, because now it's like, holy shit, your husband is this. Your husband.
Hey, look, let me tell you, bro. Let me give you some more. The biggest issue that women have with I'm glad you brought this up because I did a video 2 years ago called "Women Have No Code." Women don't get along with their own mothers. So think about it. So think about the little girls that go to school, they get bullied by their own mothers. Their first bully is their mom in most cases. Okay. So now you got a bunch of little girls going to school that all got bullied by their mama. How you think those little girls treat each other?
Yep.
They beat each other up. And then they got on bonnets. They fighting in Walmart. But we just had back in March down here, a girl got stabbed at school by another girl, killed her at lunch on a Monday.
Man, boy.
And you know what I'm saying? And everybody in this situation was raised by their mama.
Yeah, men are trauma bonding and women are bullying each other. That's why the masculinity thing is switching hands. Because it used to be the other way around. The men used to bully each other and the women trauma bonded. But now we got a bunch of men going to clubs, trauma bonding in strip clubs with each other. And they ain't helping each other get out of that rut because they enjoy having somebody else to trauma bond with. And I have homeboys right now that I moved to Texas because I noticed that I was doing better than everybody I was around. And my mentor told me, he said, that's one of your signs. When you start noticing that you're doing better than everybody you're around, that means you need to put yourself somewhere different. There's no way. Where do you have to go if you're the best thing there is around? You got to put yourself in a situation where things are better than what you're used to, so you can have something to reach for. But men are not. They trauma bond and they try to keep each other in that same space with each other. They ride each other's waves. They take turns riding each other's waves because this one person he get girls, so they hang out with him. You look at it. You'll see guys. There's always that one dude that get girls and all his homies just hanging with him all day, every day, and they calling them to see what he doing later.
But it's sad. That's why I was saying. That's why it's sad that the community is in that shape. That's why I'm loving the community's actually dying, which is great. I think I think you should do you and not worry about the next person. I love it. I think it's the best thing since sliced bread, as they say, right? Because it's just too much chaos within, bro. Right? You notice and you notice that when you speak on things like this, you're blacklisted, you're blackballed, but you're not blackballed from the other races or other cultures. You're only blackballed from your own, bro. And it's sad that it has to be said, and it's sad that it has to be like that. But it's unfortunate. Actually, it's not even unfortunate. It's a good thing. Fuck it, it's a good thing. I'm saying it's a good thing. I'm saying it's a good thing. I think you need to move out from the chaos. You know, I really do think that, Vic. That's why I think accountable masculinity shouldn't even be dealing with that low life shit.
Yeah, like
it's just on an elevated level.
Yeah, I agree with that, man, completely. And this is the conversation that turns that corner. Like, as we take this conversation further, we're going to talk about the worst behavior less and less. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But you got to keep the same men in the same conversation. And,
right.
And if you don't, then it's going to lose momentum, and everybody else wanted to if you don't keep the momentum up, it allows other people to take the narrative and create whatever they want.
But there's just too much channels that are promoting the negative stuff. Like, you know, like now it's the Carnival Cruise thing that's wiping across the wave of social media. It's all the Carnival Cruise thing now. The next big thing, you know, first we had the beatings of the cops and all this and the racism. Now we got the Carnival Cruise things. The next thing to come about is people calling the race card on Carnival Cruise that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about that. It's like it's just always that bad, vicious circle, man. It's like, I don't understand, like, where you guys finding this stuff? Some of the stuff you talk about, I'm like, what? Let me Google that. I didn't even know about that.
And that's because I understand that most people are not prepared to agree with me about certain things. So, like, I've moved forward the entire time. You know, like, since I've been a forward-thinking person since you and I, you know, since you got to know me, right?
Right.
So, like, understand that everything that I'm talking about with accountable masculinity, I wrote about this stuff in 2022, 2023. And we're just now getting it to the point where you've seen enough content fall off, and mine is just steady, still doing the same thing.
Is it fair to say they cannot listen to you because they would have to take accountability to listen to you? They would have to face their ego to listen to you, right?
Yeah. That is correct.
And here's the thing, though, Antoine. I anticipate them not listening to me. I'm doing something righteous. When you do something righteous, it takes a long time for it to be seen. And by the time that they decide to digest it and
be seen by who? The wrong people or the right people?
The right people. The people that you say need to take accountability to understand what accountable masculinity is about. They have to develop their own discipline. They have to make their own choices to decide what they want, you know what I'm saying, for themselves. I know that has to take place because I had to do that for myself in order to develop it.
Right.
And it took a lot of time and experience and a lot of mistakes to do that. And I had the right kind of tools. You know what I'm saying? I was raised the right way. And I still made mistakes, you know, because, like, nobody's perfect. You know,
but you made the right mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I made mistakes that I can learn from. You know what I'm saying? I didn't make any fatal errors. It's some people that manipulated me.
But Vic, that's why when I listen to you and I send people over to your channel, it's only the ones that I know will comprehend it. I'm not gonna send Bob. You know, I'm not gonna send Tyrone over there that doesn't know nothing to your channel because he's gonna be fighting you all the way, and he's gonna come back and tell me, why did you make me listen to this guy? Are you freaking crazy? He's nuts.
And it's meant to be exclusive too. You understand what I'm saying? Like what I mean is that we don't want people that cheapen the brand, and it needs to be exclusive. Everybody has to be heard. Every problem is worth discussing, especially if we got a solution to it. That's why I said solutions only.
I think the solution is making men. The solution, Vic, period, and I'm going to say with a period. The solution is making men better, so their options become better in the people and the partners they choose. If you're a bottom feeder, that's all you can afford. But if you're an elevated man working on yourself, doesn't matter if you're at $45,000, $50,000, you're gonna want a $50,000 woman because you're gonna know better, because you know that 50 is gonna become 60. And it should be men that do not settle on where they're at or get comfortable. That's where the solution is. Bettering the men to better themselves, because the pickings are a lot better. Yeah, I get it. Once in a while, you want to think with your other head. I get it. I understand that. You're going to tell her what she wants to hear in order to get between her legs. I'm all for it. Sometimes you wake up horny. I get that. But it doesn't mean she has to stay there for the morning. Doesn't mean you can't wear a condom. Doesn't mean you can't make sure she doesn't get pregnant. No, you're not going to tell men to stop sleeping with women. What you're going to tell them is you got to make sure you don't wake up next to her. You got to make sure she's coming over to your house. so you can kick her out. You got to make sure you have 911 on speed dial. You got to make sure you hold yourself accountable for what you're doing. You got to make sure if she doesn't have any, you know what men need to know? When you take a woman out, look at her fingernails. If she's not taking care of the small stuff, the big stuff ain't taken care of. Because a woman that's going to present herself to you is going to take care of the littlest thing. She's going to make sure her nails are right. She's going to make sure her breath smells good. She's going to make sure she has perfume that you can smell. Those are the little signs that you look for. But if she comes in flip-flops, if she comes with low-heeled shoes, she ain't paying attention to you. That's her level. Now, if she can't afford certain things, but everything else is in place, the basic thing for a woman is presentation.
You look at a woman's room. That's all I gotta say. Yeah. Look at a woman's room. Yeah. If her room ain't together, that shows you where her mind is. I don't care how good. She looks.
If her car is not washed when she sees you, that tells you everything. If the backseat of her car has shit in it, that tells you everything.
That's her brain. That's her brain. That's a representation of her brain.
Everything that y'all talking about is exactly why I came up with this acronym, SUDDEN. Sexually undisciplined dating decisions ending negatively. You hear what I'm saying? How many times can you do something out of 10? How many times can you do something suddenly and you get it right?
Suddenly and you get it right. Not much.
So that's the origin of what you see on the screen right there. You know what I'm saying?
But Vic, that's why you have to teach these men to think with the right head.
That's it.
You got to teach them to walk away. You got to teach them it's not worth 18 years of. Oh my God! And another thing, if a woman lets you shoot it up raw, that just tells you about her. Oh my God, that just tells you about her. If she's not even looking after herself, that just tells you about her. Like, I don't understand why these men think.
Why would you do it?
Like, why would you do it? Like, you cannot think you're the only one that shot it up, right? Like, what? Like, when men tell me I got her pregnant, I go, wait a minute. You mean to tell me you got her pregnant or you didn't take responsibility for your actions? Because there's a difference. Because I'm the guy that fills up the condom with water to make sure there was no leakage. Right? I mean, I'm following A, B. You are not coming home with me. And, I needed you for that moment, not for the rest of my life. I don't understand why we're not teaching men these things. Like the freaking, you don't even have to have height. You just got to have money. Because looks and height goes out the window when you have money. It's great. You drive a nice car, you get the extra looks. You got yourself together, good cologne on, you get the extra looks. Now she's looking at where you live. Like, these are the things we should encourage black men to do. We shouldn't be encouraging them to, bro, you're 30 years old, lose the baseball cap. Okay, just lose it. It's okay. You know what? You're online. Try not to eat. I'm just saying, like, you know what? You got yellow teeth. Visit a dentist. Like, these are the simple things that bring change about in the community. Over here, that's what we talk about. We talk about that over here. You know what's great about a broadcast is, and I'm going to say white broadcast, is they give you a list of the words you can't say because they already know the right words you can say. So they say just refuse from, and then look over the list of what the words they can't use because they already know how to articulate the words they can use. So that's what's great about it. You got to bring professionalism, etiquette, get rid of the plastic cups, glass into the community. Change it because that's the image. We're not all freaking Carnival crews. Think about that. And if a woman that got her shit together, she's okay with hearing you tell her that dress is starting to look a little tight on you now. She's okay with it. She's gonna say, baby, right? Really? Yeah, baby. Okay, I'm on it. Don't worry about it. I got you.
All right, we're gonna wave Antoine off. You know what I'm saying? Get up off them women, man. I told you before. See what happened?
But I'm saying this for the men.
I know it.
Will gets me. I can see Will. He's like, yeah.
And it's great though. Because I want to get ready to wrap up, man. Because you know what I'm saying, we're a really, really good conversation.
I like Will, man. See, the minute Will spoke and he just owned it, and then he went on to, that's the guy that should be talking. That's the guy that needs a channel.
That's what this channel is. I'm calling those men out. We need more Wills. We need more Wills. That's just it. You know what I'm saying? And I know men like him, they working all the time. They got families and obligations and stuff too, because they overcame where they began, and they know what both sides of the equation looks like because they've had to be the man that they didn't have. And a lot of these guys,
you need to link up.
A lot of these guys want to be the man that Will is. And
I think that's a commendable, man. That he.
Yeah.
Oh man, I just think, bro, you did great.
I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the show. You know what I'm saying? The guys that want to be like Will, they talk to me. They just haven't had the right inspiration, you know. And the more Wills that we get, which I greatly appreciate him joining the platform this evening, the better outcomes we're gonna see. The better conversations are gonna get, the less attention that we're gonna give the ratchet, the less arguments we're gonna have with women that do not respect us, the less disingenuous conversations we're gonna be drawn to, because they're gonna always exist. You gotta have the discipline to say that's not for me. No different than you passing past a fast food restaurant, you know, no different than opting to eat better than filling your face with the wrong food all the time. Drinking less alcohol and drinking more water. All of that is discipline. Everything that is right is about discipline. Love is about discipline. God is centered on discipline. And there's nothing that you can add discipline to that gets worse. So that's what I wanted to leave you guys with before I got out of here. It has been a great show. Thanks to Antoine. I'll see you backstage. Will, I'll see you backstage. You want to hang out. And for everybody else, you know what to do. All right, folks. Appreciate you sticking with me to the end. This has been another episode of Beyond the Algorithm. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Go get the book. And most importantly, I will see you beyond the algorithm. That's when life actually happens.